Welcome to the Swolenormous PROCAST with your host, Papa Swolio.
The PROCAST. Oh my God. So let me I'm probably gonna have to bring up some, I'm gonna have to bring up the browser window.
Yes.
For when we go into the juice, and you know what juice I'm talking about. We got that Oracle juice. All right, let's start. I know people are going to be interested in, because at the time of filming the whole situation we just talked about, we can get into that in a second. I say we start this party off with the latest. Let's see, Oracle buys. They didn't buy TikTok though. They didn't buy it.
Yeah, I was reading through a little bit more of the articles around that, and I'm like, okay, so it has a lot more to do. It's a lot more than just they weren't ever planning on selling. It's a lot deeper than that.
Yeah. So what I've seen, and I definitely haven't done research on it. I saw a couple TikTok videos from people that are, TikTok influencer business people, the marketing sleaze on TikTok. Part of this is like, it's not going to be banned. I have to still post that. It's like, oh man, I still gotta use that shit. But what I read was that the Oracle CEO is not literally, but literally been kind of, behind the Trump campaign or really close. In other words, like fluffing Trump's pillow.
Yeah.
I forget the woman's name, but the CEO of Oracle. So apparently one of the concepts or one of the thoughts is that Trump was never going to ban TikTok. It was just more of like a pressured maybe loophole to get a United States company in with TikTok
in bed with
to leverage. Yeah. Or maybe it was a favor, maybe Oracle, maybe they wanted it and they saw it as an opportunity. It could have been planned, or why couldn't it be? But apparently it's not an actual purchase. So to get everyone up to speed, as much as I'm aware of it, but I mean, I'm no lawyer, of course, with this, and international with algorithms, like who knows? But apparently the Chinese government said no, because, so ByteDance, I think, could technically sell without the government, but Chinese government and is like, tied into every company. Mm-hmm. So every company answers to the Chinese Communist Party. So I think in a way to make sure that nothing happened with TikTok without their consent, they changed a law that said something about, like, I guess it was media or something that couldn't be like an export of media. Some law that they haven't touched in a decade, like 10 years. Mm-hmm. So in other words, they could sell TikTok, but they wouldn't be able to sell the algorithm, which is like, well, I mean, it's worthless, right? I mean, that's how you utilize the data. That's how you get people trapped into the app. That's everything, right? I don't even know what an algorithm looks like. It's like the boogeyman. It's like, oh, the algorithm. It's like talking about God. It's like everyone has their own opinion of what that is or thoughts. It's like, the algorithm. It's like, oh, maybe the algorithm is God. Maybe that's the same thing.
There's just a room with like a golden triangle inside of the middle of these buildings. It's actually part of the building's like infrastructure. Like you can't move the algorithm for both the building and the actual app.
It sounds like a horror movie, like The Algorithm. It's called The Algorithm, and you're trapped in the building. The doors are closing. You're like, the building's alive. It is The Algorithm.
It's like some weird version of like an adult version of Maze.
we should create an app called Algorithm.
Algorithm.
Yeah. So apparently it's like a liaison, or it's some kind of like they're into like partner. It's like a partner, which I don't know what that means. I mean, if anything, it seems like a good strategy for the US, for a US company, like let's say you're using this from like a strategic defense standpoint. Mm-hmm. If you have or a plugin or a liaison or a partner, you're probably going to get some type of, I'm sure if you're going to pay money, you're going to get rights or transparency, because Oracle doesn't have any front-facing products, right? They're just systems and integration and
software and whatnot.
Whatever
technology.
They do, like behind the scenes, like servers,
ecosystems.
Yeah. So they don't have any. So they're not like, Walmart was going to sell products and probably have toys and have music and sell their library and app, and that probably wasn't the point anyway. Because TikTok chose Oracle. In other words, they didn't want any of that because you have Walmart and
which
Microsoft.
Is also weird in and of itself, but keep going.
Think about the difference, right? Walmart and I mean, this is my just gut feeling. Walmart and Microsoft would have just, TikTok would have been destroyed.
Yeah.
I feel like whatever would have happened after that would have just ruined the app in itself.
So and that article that you were pulling from was saying that they were wanting to change it a lot more than even Oracle was.
Right? Walmart wants to make money, and Microsoft does software and stuff, and like, why wouldn't they want to make money? So they're going to leverage it.
Yeah.
So from TikTok standpoint, hey, you don't have any front-facing products, so you don't know anything about this. That's not your expertise.
Yep.
We get to bypass the laws. We get to keep everything the same. TikTok, this section is always, nothing changes. You are just going to be like the partner you own, or your partner with us. So we have to pass things through. You get access to our behind the scenes, so you can make sure and vet it for security and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So, maybe they're going through the code and combing through it, because if you don't have the algorithm, it's worthless. And it is Chinese spyware unless it's blocked or checked. Remember, like I was mentioning, if you copied something to your clipboard, they had access to that information. Oh, it was a mistake. Yeah. A small error.
Right.
You type something on Notepad, then you copy it into Signal, that private encrypted, and that's, well, if you get it on clipboard first, then it's not really, they're not looking at my clipboard. They're looking at politicians or politicians' kids, and they're looking for blackmail and all that kind of stuff. But anyway,
I think what
are your thoughts?
I was just gonna say, I think the most interesting thing to me is like the spread in, I guess, knowledge around solutions for certain age demographics and certain walks of business and life. And what I mean by that is the client base, if you will, that Oracle serves on a daily basis since their existence, and the sort of user base, and I guess if you wanted to call it a customer base in certain aspects, that TikTok has and who they serve, the spread is as far as you could possibly go. You're talking at anything from like, 30, this is just a range, a small box, I guess I'm putting it in, but like 35 and up, and quite a bit up, executives running ecosystems that have nothing to do with I could see, like, as a client of Oracle, if they were using some of their technology stuff or, partnering with them. But what doesn't make sense on that front is, why not just lead with that? Hey, like very similar to when TikTok announced they were going to buy like $800 million worth of Google Cloud computing services. That, to me, should have been, or unless I'm missing something, sort of the narrative approach they took with like Oracle is like, hey, we're not necessarily looking to be bought by them, but we believe that the history they have with, technology, with software, with, all of that kind of stuff in the background is going to be a huge sort of like widgetized moment that we can, introduce into our ecosystem, making us more secure, making us more sophisticated or whatever. So we want to partner not only with them on that front, but with Google on the cloud computing front, because we believe that's going to bring us into a place of maturity, whatever. So obviously the fact that they're not even communicating it in that nature, but that's like the fact, is also weird to me in general. Is like, literally there's videos going around of Trump saying TikTok has a few days to either sell or get the F out of, like literally staring straight into the camera and saying that. And I'm like, if that was the case, then technically, I mean, based off of what's being presented, even this deal with Oracle wouldn't even make a difference, because according to him, a partnership couldn't have saved it in the first place. So why are we acting all of a sudden like, so that's why I'm like, there must be a lot more going on behind the scenes, because to me, I can understand a partnership with, technology infrastructures and software infrastructures like this that just have, decades of experience in R&D and money spent and all those areas to have solutions figured out, and adding it to your modern media and social media platform to make it, regulatory, if you will, or follow certain regulations on a federal level. But if the narratives don't match up, on one side, you have the US saying buy or get out, and on the other side, you have TikTok choosing a partner. And I'm like, aren't you still going to, so that's well,
I got the
mostly where I'm confused,
I got the article here. It says, let's see, U.S. Treasury Secretary Stephen Mnuchin confirmed on Monday that the administration received a proposal that includes Oracle as the app's, quote, trusted technology partner. He said he'll be reviewing the proposal this week and making a recommendation to Trump, reiterating that a deadline to make a deal remains September 20th. So what we got
now.
Is that Monday? Is that Monday?
We're on Monday now. So no, that would be Sunday. Yeah. right?
Yes.
It's weird.
That's weird, right? That's a weird day. Sunday.
Yeah.
Quote, we need to make sure that the code is, one, secure. Americans' data is secure, phones are secure, and we'll be looking to have discussions with Oracle over the next few days with our technical team. The Treasury Secretary told CNBC, adding that he had a lot of confidence in both Microsoft and Oracle. The Oracle proposal contains a commitment to make TikTok global, a U.S. headquartered company with 20,000 new jobs. So maybe that's going to be their plan. They're going to bring it. They're going to bring the headquarters back or something. Couching the deal as a corporate overhaul could help win approval in Beijing. It could allay fears about TikTok's cache of sensitive U.S. data while addressing Chinese concerns over the export of key artificial intelligence technology, aka the algorithm. Said Yik-Chan Chin, who researches global media. Let's see, quote, if you say this is a hostile takeover, that may not be nice for both parties, she said, but if you frame it like a restructuring or a spinoff, that's more acceptable to the two governments. Let me see here.
So maybe part of the weird narrative is literally to appease both governments instead.
Well, that was like the original thing where like they were changing the law because you can imagine that they have to look good publicly. Yeah. But behind the scenes are like they don't want to start. They don't want to make, because arguing and fighting it make you look weak or makes it look like you care. Like if you show that you care too much, that's a power play too. If like, no, this is ours. It's like, well, why do you want it so bad? Like what's so important about TikTok? It's an app that's successful here. Let's partner up. It's like, well, are you, it's like, what are you doing with it? Right. Yeah. So they declined to comment on the prospect of the ByteDance Oracle. So they're not even commenting on it. Quote, China has talked about its position on TikTok many times. The U.S. is now encircling TikTok. This is a typical coerced transaction by the government, the foreign ministry spokesman said. Let's see. Quote, TikTok sold, you guys. That means we're not going anywhere, declared Ilana Zhen, who has 2.4 million followers, in a video touting the Oracle deal. The app, which lets people record and edit short videos. Let's see here. Let's see. If the Chinese company is able to get a deal through the White House that doesn't involve an outright forced sale, it would be a major feat for ByteDance founder Zhang Yiming. Mr. Top,
I was trying to look at a little bit more into
who has been reluctant to hand over such a prized asset.
He said Mr. Talk.
Oh, here we go. A deal where Oracle takes over hosting without source code and significant operational changes would not address any of the legitimate concerns about TikTok. And the White House accepting such a deal would demonstrate that this exercise was pure grift. Yeah. I agree, right? Like, that's the thing. You want to buy it. You want to make sure it's, like, the whole point is that it's Chinese spyware. The whole point is that the algorithm, and like, they're pulling data and they have very valuable information. Right. And what most people don't understand, we'll get that in a second. Beijing's stance is another big question mark. Shortly after bids from Microsoft and Oracle, they announced its right to be the Chinese government announced its right to be closely involved in approval of any deal, as well as its opposition to exporting key algorithms. Yeah. Such a recommendation engine that underpins.
So TikTok. that could be almost be a reason why they wouldn't go in a Microsoft direction. And this is just speculation. This is not based in me knowing any education, but if I had just hearing that alone, maybe because it was very clear, and I think either the article you're reading or a similar one, that they specifically chose they didn't want to go with Microsoft and Walmart. Like, that was a TikTok choice. I got more. So it could be one of those things where, like, they think that Microsoft is intelligent enough to figure out or monitor that whole process.
I got more.
What's up?
Then Oracle, a company with a closer relationship to the U.S. president, remember what I mentioned about the CEO, emerged as a bidder with the backing of Sequoia Capital, a key ByteDance shareholder.
Interesting. So they want to keep it close to home plate.
Well, obviously they own a lot of shares. So it's like, all right, they're already in. They have leverage, right? If they're a key shareholder, that means they have a significant percentage. Yeah. That's funding TikTok. Here, TikTok is a less obvious fit with Oracle, but may make sense in light of the company's desire to build up its cloud computing and consumer data businesses. This is what you can riff off. It's kind of what you were saying. Oracle creates profiles of ordinary people and sells them to companies looking to reach specific audiences. TikTok currently stores massive amounts of data and as a large customer of cloud services run by Amazon Web Services and Alphabet Inc.'s Google.
Nice.
So that's what I wanted to. Yeah, see, it says Oracle has nurtured a relationship with Trump before his administration began.
Yeah.
In 2016, CEO Safra Catz served on the president's transition team, and 2 years later dined with him at the White House, where she complained about a government contract she deemed unfair. All right, so you kind of, and then it just kind of wraps up. That was from Bloomberg. So yeah, like what you said about the right.
Yeah, because it's essentially one of those things where it's like, if I'm in that position and I'm TikTok, that data is key. Like, because when you get into that whole world of like how you use data, how you sell data, how you position it, how you analyze it, like what partners you're in bed with, all that kind of stuff. It's a world I knew of because of marketing, but I never delve into like the intricacies of it. But if I were just from a naive perspective thinking, I'm like, okay, well, Microsoft and Walmart clearly have, direct plans in owning this, changing it, making it their own, like, shifting it or whatever. Plus Microsoft is at a intellectual level in the technology world to where they would be able to figure out any type of, fast stuff you would try to pull on it, or, hiding stuff behind the scenes, either from a hardware standpoint or a software standpoint, whatever. Whereas Oracle is like big, but not big enough to be as investigative and accurate as a Microsoft.
Microsoft. They're not
exactly.
They don't have that brand recognition. They're not bigger than Walmart, but they're
right.
huge. It's a massive, massive company. But it seems like Oracle, like this complements what Oracle does and what Oracle would want, or how they would benefit, obviously. And it seems like from TikTok's perspective, that would be the ideal option, because you want to stay TikTok. Like TikTok still wants to make money. People at TikTok still want to do it their way. They obviously know what they're doing. If you look at Oracle versus Microsoft, Walmart, which partnership or which sale would change everything dramatically the most? Obviously the Microsoft, they're going to be leveraging it for conversions. They're not just going to hold it. They're going to try to sell shit. They're going to, be fucking around the back end because Walmart's trying to compete with Amazon.
Did you read a line that said they're only doing so Oracle's only going to have control over their cloud infrastructure, essentially? Like that, like essentially. So if they're adding 20,000 jobs, are they essentially adding 20,000 Oracle jobs in that department?
I don't. Oh, you mean no? I don't think it's
because my question would be
it's not even for sure yet. I think it's this is probably stuff that leaked out that, hey, Oracle is picked as winning bid. Doesn't mean that can't change in the next week. I doubt 100%. It will. Like I doubt that all this reporting, they'll be like, no, it's not. But who knows what's going to happen before the 20th, or if that's going to get delayed or extended. Right. Trump doesn't want to look weak. This is all stuff that's like, this is definitely, you can't, any kind of, no matter what it is, you can't look at this without the timing of the election, right? So we're coming up on the end of September.
Yeah.
Obviously there's like some kind of there's some crunch time, because one, Trump, he's not guaranteed to be president for another 4 years. So any moves that he makes, any backs that he scratches, like if he loses the election, let's say he loses the election, everything that he does after that is going to be with that light and will be less respected, because it's kind of like, oh, president on their way out, just kind of like, eject or do this, or his powers are going to be much more limited.
Right.
A lot of people are afraid that, oh, he's going to win again in the next 4 years. Second term president, I don't have to run for re-election. Fuck it, I'm going to do whatever I want. Like, who am I going to pardon? What laws am I going to pass? That being said, it's kind of like you're stuck between a rock and a hard place, or a rock and a coffin when it comes to Trump and Biden. But that the election stuff aside.
But to your point,
it says Oracle proposal contains a commitment to make TikTok a U.S. headquarter company with 20,000 new jobs. It doesn't really say,
because that's where it already gets murky, regardless of what the name tag is, whether it's Oracle or anybody else who would look like them from a fingerprint or a footprint standpoint. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, does adding 20,000 jobs and taking over cloud computing also mean product development, also mean marketing, also mean the ad infrastructure, also mean the whatever? Or is it literally you guys are just in charge of cloud computing and technology security? Because then it's almost like, okay, if they're wanting that part to be US based, because that's where the security issues come in, then you can still have campaigning, marketing, advertising, product development, software and features, development, all that kind of stuff, still Beijing based or China based or whatever, as long as the security of it and the understanding of it and the reporting of it is being handled between Oracle and the United States. And that's why I'm kind of confused. Are they moving legitimately all of what TikTok is as a company and an infrastructure? Because that's just one of their platforms. Yes. Like that's one of ByteDance's platforms.
Oh, like what else do they own?
Yeah, like I don't know enough about ByteDance to know their portfolio of platforms.
I'll Google it right now. It's probably stuff we haven't heard of, but let me see this right here. In the light of the company's desire to build up its cloud computing and consumer data businesses, Oracle creates profiles of ordinary people and sells them to companies looking to reach. So they do their own, like I guess, behind the scenes targeting. I wonder how they do that. Maybe like old school ads, or like I wonder what the fuck they actually do, or like polling and stuff like that. Like
it sounds like data aggregation and then like selling and stuff like that.
Like I don't even know who used that. Probably who knows? Maybe Facebook uses stuff from Oracle. Like they probably source stuff too and cross check stuff like for accuracy and or offline sales. Like Oracle can have all these all these connections to malls all over the country. So Faceline off, and also like location services and GPS, like where you're making purchases. If you're standing in a mall, you make a purchase online, but you're not currently logged into Facebook, but they connect your account with Facebook. You made this offline purchase. Facebook will show you an ad based on a purchase you made, even though you weren't on Facebook, right? All that shit.
Yeah.
Let's see. TikTok currently stores massive amounts of data and is a large customer of Amazon, AWS, and Google. So, I mean, obviously you want to bring, here we go. Here, quote, Oracle's potential to win the TikTok saga could provide a minor boost to its cloud infrastructure services as the software company looks to become a credible player in a market dominated by Amazon and Microsoft. Yeah. Oracle has a long way to go before it becomes even a top 5 player in the space, given its late entry. So this is going to boost, maybe this is probably obviously something that Oracle's doing, of course, behind the scenes, but I think they're just adapting to the times. They realize they can't just be floating behind the scenes. They have to become, maybe they're just branding themselves differently. Like they're stepping out. Like people are going to know. I don't think it's ever going to be like Walmart, Amazon, Oracle, but it's going to definitely make it more of an American player. Like you're going to have probably like the headquarters, like you're going to know Oracle's name. It's going to be, they're probably going to be funding all of that. So I'm sure like not only does Oracle benefit, but they're probably like, we got money. We'll build your shit. They're probably going to be like, rolling out the red carpet, like, come on in here. We're going to create jobs. So the economy is going to be stoked. Like wherever they build, that's another question. Where are they going to build? Like California is a hot fucking mess. A lot of people were trying to leave California. Like they might imagine if they go to like, who the fuck knows? But I mean, when you look at this, oh my God, Amazon and Microsoft, everyone's using the same shit. Like everyone uses Amazon Web. That's why most people don't know about Amazon Web Services. Like,
I'm
think, Amazon sells stuff. It's like,
I'm surprised how many people don't know about that specifically.
Bro, remember when a third of the internet went down like in 2016 or 2017? We were talking like everything was down.
I woke up one day and like all of our agency's software was down or whatever, and literally our technology dude at the time, without even batting an eyelash, he's like, AWS must be down. And I was like, and that was when I first started really understanding how all that.
We were talking about this, like all the major servers were down. Like I remember Unbounce and all these web pages wouldn't even load. I messaged them. They're like, and that's fucking creepy when you run your business on companies that run their business on that shit.
Companies, like, because there's even smaller, like, and this is where like, now I don't want to get too far into like this world, but like it almost reminds me of like, I mean, it's just every layer has that sort of version of those companies. Cause there's this old software I used to, I knew of, and I had to work in a couple times because of the clients or whatever, but it's called DNN. It used to be like .NET Nuke or something like that, but it's DNN software. And they're like essentially an internet content management system, like for sophisticated environments and all that kind of stuff, whatever, and I feel like Oracle is like, if you multiply that by 10 and added other like surrounding services in and around that space, they all kind of live in and out of the same sort of space, and nothing really is off limits when it comes to business. Like for example, like let's say let's scale the Swolenormous infrastructure, like brand infrastructure, up times 100. And somebody, like the largest network in the world, let's say Universal Studios or something, came and said, very similar to how like, Disney and ESPN bought the UFC. They came to you and said, hey, we would love to buy the Daily Swole out of your portfolio brands because we believe like a holistic fitness, network would be really great for the personalities and blah, 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 whatever. It's like in that moment, you would have to decide a lot of things. Okay, am I giving them the media attention and assets, in the storehouse? Am I just giving them the, back end systems or whatever, so it can be more sophisticated, but I'm taking control of the editorial and whatever? So like, and I know that's like a weird, I guess thread to draw like as an example or a commonality. But what I'm trying to identify is like, if we were in the decision-making seats for what we had, those are things we would be deciding. Now add intricacies and departments and international, relations and all that kind of stuff. It's like, these things can be really complicated, and let alone what they're reporting on versus what they're just doing. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, because they all, being as large as they are, have relationships with all the local, national, international media outlets too, in different, aspects or whatever. So it's like, and that's not one of those, it's all controlled and systematized comments. That's more so of like, you never know from a vantage point other than the fact of, when there's missing pieces to a story that's not complete. And, it would make total sense to, okay, TikTok, you have big data on the two, youngest generations in human existence right now. We are a company that's our next natural progression is to understand the nature, the behavior, the data, the characteristics behind that people group as we expand our, online and offline services. Therefore, we partner together or whatever. And again, I have no correlation of like what's actually happening behind scenes and being communicated. It's just super weird that, in my opinion, this is sort of the punchline what I'm trying to make. I feel like with something this large of an application, it's weird that we're just not hearing, here's the 30 company, like almost like March Madness style, and NCAA, like here's the 30 companies looking to buy, TikTok. Here's the reasons each one of them have value propositions and what they could potentially do. And, here's their propositions and like whatever. Not that it would ever be like a public thing if that happened, but I'm just like, why is it only open to these few, 3 to 5 people?
Bro, who can pay 30 who can pay 30? I was saying, like, I think a few weeks ago I was saying it's probably gonna be 25 to 50 billion dollars. Who can pay that, bro?
Jeez.
Who can pay that, and who's going to approve that? Like, if you have Facebook, like, get fucked. They're not going to.
That's another thing too with the partnership. Do they have to still pay that to partner with them?
I would be shocked if they're. Why wouldn't they have to pay? Like,
well, I'm saying because it's kind of cow trading, right? You're taking all of Oracle's solutions and you're taking TikTok's data. They're both benefiting.
Yeah, well, I mean, who's benefiting more? Oracle.
Yeah, for sure. Yep.
So I looked up. So on ByteDance's site over their product. So Douyin, which is TikTok but Chinese TikTok, it's called Douyin, Douyin. They have Toutiao, which it says is one of the most popular content discovery platforms in China. Enabling people to discover and explore topics of interest from sports and entertainment to agriculture and history. So another app, TikTok. So it's the same thing as Douyin, but Douyin is China, and TikTok is, LA, London, Paris, everything else, Dubai, Mumbai. So I mean, when you're buying US TikTok, I think you're also getting India. You're getting all the stuff that was banned. I think you're getting all the shit that they can't use. So. From ByteDance's standpoint, TikTok's going to be useless if it's banned in India. They lost 1 billion users, right? Or 800 million or something.
Oh, my bad, guys. That's what I was saying too, that there's so much more to the story. Even if you buy it or have relationship with them, what are you going to do about India? Is there already a backdoor relationship like of opening that back up? Is that just kind of forgot about?
I think it's included because it's worthless if they don't.
But wouldn't they technically have different regulations in reopening their stuff than the U.S. would?
I'm sure. I don't give a fuck about what India.
Because I was the only reason I have any context at all is because that one of the community members reached out to me who's from India, and he was like, first of all, he was like, America understands almost nothing about us. He was like, second of all, he was like, we're having a lot of issues at our borders. And I forget what other, and I apologize to anybody who's from that like arena and not, being a little bit naive to it. But he was saying like they have a lot of issues at their borders and who can control and who's going to, like, they have a country that's after them right now, and blah, 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 all this kind of stuff. And as he's explaining this over audio messaging, he started explaining like why some of these platforms are getting banned in India all at one time, because he was like, it's not just TikTok. He's like, America has to realize like we're banning this and this and this and this and this because we have a country coming after our domain and all this kind of stuff right now, and like are getting murdered. And
there were like 20 soldiers or something were killed like in Tibet. They've been battling. So after that happened, they're like, you know what, fuck you, pretty much. Like get all this shit out of here. It says they also have Jigua Video, which is another one of China's most popular video applications. So another video application that looks more like a YouTube type thing. Hilo, in 15 languages. Let's see. Hilo is one of India's leading social media platforms. So they have a lot. They have a few India oriented. So Lark is only in Japan and Singapore. And that chat, calendar, content, and then Babe or Babe. It says Babe, but it's probably Babe. So it's Indonesia's leading news and content app. So they have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Oh, you should pop it up on the screen. Let me take a glance real quick. Can we do that still, or does that work for editing?
Oh, I'm not gonna. No, I can pull it up. Let me see here. Might just be looking in different directions.
Okay. We're like the Brady Bunch.
There's a story.
Okay, Douyin. Oh yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I would have done this earlier, but let's see. Toutiao. So TikTok and Douyin is the same thing.
Yeah.
And then you have, see, that's like a YouTube. And then you have Lark. And then Babe or Babe. I'll call it Babe, but it's probably Babe or Babe. I don't know why they have this weird. That's what I'm saying too. Dude, as if that's not like, if you did this in the United States, you'd be like, that's cultural appropriation. That's racist. Look at this guy. He looks like one of those. He looks like one of those like spies from the 50s, where you had like the silent films, or 1930s, where he's like, ding, 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 like the evil guy comes out like,
like the jeez, like cartoons back in like Pink Panther days.
Yeah, or like Pepe Le Pew, like the skunk rapist and shit.
TikTok, I'm actually interested.
Look at this. TikTok.com/forgood. Jesus Christ. Yeah. Tech for good, I'm sure. But you know what? What's interesting is like, who's to say that these like companies and stuff, who's to say these companies are like legit evil? Just because they're Chinese doesn't mean the person that started them like wants to take over the world or wants to spy.
Right.
Like imagine you live in pretty much like a capitalist authoritarian government. Like it's this blend between like communism and authoritarianism and capitalism, but it all like if the government says we're doing this, like you're doing that.
Right.
Like you're doing that, or no one's going to see you ever again.
Right.
Like, oh, you got COVID. Ho, ho, ho. Right. Something's going to happen to you. You're just going to people just disappear. Right. People just get taken from their houses. And what are you going to do? You're going to call someone? Who are you going to call? Right.
Yeah.
So like, you might create a company and then all of a sudden it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then the government's like, I don't know how that works. Like if you sign up like, oh, we're going to send someone over to you. They're going to have this person work for you. I don't know what the situation is, but whatever they want. Let's just say, for example, let's say at worst or best case, like, you start a company and then, the government comes knocking. It's like, in the United States, they ask for taxes. In China, they're like, we're going to tell you what to do.
Yeah.
Or you have to, or on the surface, we give you like, hey, you can make these choices, but it's like, within like a walled cage, like you have these options. It's like,
not to mention who's in charge of creating essentially international digital law, because it makes sense, to have international relations in regards to what you can and can't do in marketplaces and trade of goods and services, stuff like that. But when it comes to, and I'm sure there's, actual information and development out there, but like, who's the final call on that of like, okay, let's say another, ByteDance portfolio app pops off, and for whatever reason, Americans flood to that platform now. So now all of a sudden, do we go through the same thing every single time? Like, is this now a new, like, this is essentially the equivalent of the Mexican wall, but in a digital space of anytime you impede on us past 50 million users, we're going to come after the app.
Chinese company,
it's
a Chinese company. What are you going to do? Like, I think you're talking like international waters type thing, but there's no international. I think it's just where the company is located.
Yeah.
So if the company is Chinese, then guess who controls it? The Chinese government, right? They're in charge of, or they're like, just like the United States. Hey, okay, the U.S. says, Oracle, like someone needs to buy it. So pretty much like, aside from any of the behind the scenes, like, hey, Oracle, you're going to buy this when we do this. Actually, okay.
Right.
But at the same, you have to make it look like natural, but we're saying, okay, who are we going to allow? So the government can say, they can just contact people like who's going to pay that much. Then the government, right, with all that antitrust, like Facebook would never be able to do it. Google would never be able to get away with that. There's a reason why, Google didn't want TikTok. Get the fuck out of here. There's no way, like Amazon or they could easily purchase that. Either one, they don't want to get involved with it, but probably more so than that.
Not to mention all of them are trying to mimic it right now. So of course
you could not get Amazon like legally for like antitrust, Amazon buying that. It's so huge already. I think it was like the data when I was mentioning I don't know if we talked about it already, but when Walmart was joining the Prime game by charging like $20 less a year and not offering free shipping under like $35.
Yeah.
I think Amazon, I think Walmart has 6% of market share from online shopping. It's like, wow, 6%. I think Amazon's 38. Bro.
Yeah.
38% of that's online shopping. What the fuck, bro? So almost, for all intents and purposes, let's say 40%. Okay. You're going to let them have TikTok? Like, get out of it. They don't need it, one. But also, like, they have Twitch. I mean, most people don't know Amazon owns Twitch.
Right.
I mean, Amazon
let me get your thoughts on this, because I actually don't know much about it. But obviously, everybody knows Alibaba is essentially the Asian or Chinese version of Amazon or whatever. Jack Ma, and I was watching an interesting interview with him in. I watch his old
videos.
Yeah,
I watch his old videos, like when he started that shit. Like old speeches and old like boardroom meetings, like with a few people of him like talking about. Oh, dude, he's a smart dude.
Yeah, and he has interesting perspectives and stuff. But it's like what is confusing to me is like, okay, we already have, I guess if you want to call them like whatever, Chinese-based companies and companies just in general that are based in other countries that are somewhat directly or indirectly operating in the US, right? I mean, almost all, to my understanding, almost all FBA companies are sourcing from Alibaba and just reselling on Amazon.
A lot of them, I'm sure.
A lot of them, or that's a core strategy, right? You buy it for $3 over here, you become good at branding and marketing, and essentially you're a product pusher, right? And all you have to do is launch new products, make sure your optimization is on point, all of that kind of stuff, making sure you're striking while the iron's hot on certain products, which is why all of those softwares to analyze it and Google Chrome plugins and blah, 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 all this kind of stuff, right? So you can see your profit margin, you can see what products are selling, you see how many searches there are, you can optimize your products to that. And then you just essentially become a brand that is it's like a farmer's market, essentially, of, that's how that whole system is. So to me, I'm like, if we already have working things where there's billions of dollars being made, it's weird to say, because what's the digital equivalent of international, right? It's like interdigitally, like we already have these international interdigitally working ecosystems where people in marketplaces are interacting over, software and platforms or whatever. So why is it like we're all pretending like this is the first one? Oh no, China has a software has American attention, we should do something about it. It's like, okay, this is definitely not the first case where a different country owns a platform that a lot of Americans are either leveraging from a engagement and attention standpoint or from an actual business standpoint. Why can't we follow some of the systems or regulations that are already being followed and not regulated and banned by these other platforms? That's where I'm confused, is like, Was it like, and we may never know, or maybe there's information out there and we're just not sourcing it or whatever. Like, what if like a company that's already in good standing with the United States, but is still in China would have just bought it, like a China-based company? That's where I'm confused. Is like, haven't we already figured this out? Like relationships of digital platforms between countries. Like, why are we acting like this is the first and we got to solve it?
Didn't Google, like, wasn't there a huge problem with Google moving their servers or something to China or some shit?
I don't know, actually.
I thought that was some like long-term play. Well, I mean,
I do know there's fractional hosting of these platforms though. Like, so that way if one goes down,
I think it's also smart too.
Yeah.
I mean, what's interesting is like most people don't realize, of course, most things are made in China, even pharmaceuticals. So like all of a sudden COVID happens and there's all these problems and things. A lot of things are made overseas. But a friend of mine who was doing sales on Amazon, his online store blew up. So he actually, I forget how, but he got some kind of contact with a translator, because obviously Chinese is like, you need to know someone that knows Chinese and a specific dialect to do in the connections. So he actually stayed with this person in China, went to like, to actually meet with the people and to source it. Yeah. Bro, he said he went to this, like, it was like, I don't know if it was a kind of one of those like indoor markets.
Yeah.
Like conceptually, but he said it was like, I don't know how many Walmarts, like multiples, just like this insanely huge building with just floor after floor after floor. He said every single floor you walk in, there were just like, he said you wouldn't believe how many people they would fit into this small place. Like they were you go into a door and there were like 5 cubicles of like people just on phones. Like, and he said when he was walking through every floor, you just saw every single product. Like you could imagine on Amazon, like, oh, those chairs, I've seen those at Walmart before, like folding chairs. Right. I've seen those umbrellas. I've seen those sandals. Like literally all the products we buy, these are all the manufacturers. These are all the people that are like, people are communicating through interpreters, through websites, that people are doing FBA, people are doing reselling. Walmart, like literally the same stuff. This is where Walmart buys, for example. So this is the same, this is the same type of market. There's one place in China, one area, like one building. I mean, a huge place, but there's many of those. Yeah. So we went there and like literally saw all that stuff. So it gave him such a different perspective. And I kind of heard about that. It's like, oh shit. So he's like, yeah, if you want yoga mats or something, let me know. Cause he had a guy that he could connect, but of course, volume and shipping. And it's like, I'm not like in that kind of like market, but that's where this stuff does, like these shirts and stuff they don't come from nowhere. Like even like this shirt, someone like, this was printed. Okay. But where were these shirts made? Yeah. I could take it off and find out, but they were made, but
not funny.
Just because this was printed somewhere in the United States or shipped like Teespring or whatever. Right. Because Teespring just, you have printers that are like connected with Teespring. Yep. So I don't know if Teespring, I'm sure they have their own headquarters and certain printing.
They actually, in the last year, I only know this because they send me their.
They built it up like depots.
They essentially now have their own internal brands too, and they're starting to like develop their own stuff. But it wasn't theirs at first.
But the smart thing for that, because there's a lot of inconsistency with their products. So one of the big problems with having like individual sellers in a location, like, oh, we'll print those for you. Like when I was ordering, not so much now, but there were a lot more misprints. There were a lot more like the alignment was off. It wasn't like good quality. There was different issues. So I'm sure that's another way to like maintain like consistency of product. Right. For example, like they're getting it from somewhere and just reprinting it. So everything's coming from overseas or from Mexico or from these other countries. I mean, it's just people are just in complete denial, like where stuff comes from, and that we're arguing about. I mean, not to like get way off topic, but everyone's worried because we had the other conversation about racism and systemic racism and all these problems. And like, there are real problems in the world. There are these like, issues that are being magnified ridiculously, like as per like our previous conversation. We can get into that if you want to. That's up to you. Yeah. But, like, yet people are wearing clothes from China, from Mexico. Like, who do you think's making that shit? What kind of conditions do you think people are making things in Pakistan or in China or in South Korea? Like, who the fuck knows? Yeah. And we went over there and we like, I don't care how many cell phones or investigative journalists, like there's like fucking horrific conditions in Bangladesh. Like, who knows what's going on in a factory? Maybe when the inspector comes, but everyone knows like, oh, put on your best. Oh, a drop-in inspection. Right. You grease them a little bit or say, oh, we'll come on this day. Cool. They prepare. Everyone's like on their best behavior. Right. It's like any other inspection.
Shows up or something.
It's always going to be like that, you know. On the off chance that someone like shows up, like how easy could you pay that person off, or could you leverage a deal, or could you?
That's what I'm saying. Like 90% of marketplace stuff is peddling operations and systems, because even when you bring it back to the Teespring example, if we wanted to, which I have zero desire to do, but I know we could do it even better than a lot of these people. If we wanted to, we could create a vendor-based marketplace for printed products on top of or on the back of other thing, and just call it like, you know, Swole goods or something, you know, whatever. It's like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, people don't understand that these companies, they figured out a system and a process. They had a vision. They either did it themselves because they had experience, or hired a technology partner that could build a software where vendors could come in, sign up for a Teespring account, you know, upload their own designs or whatever. So really, if you think about it, they're a software and a marketing and a branding company, not an apparel company, right? Because they're not the one, like, until as of recently, as you know, a lot of people do, they start with like the lowest cost of entry, and then they try to bring like some of the stuff internal, start making their own products or whatever. But it's like, people don't really understand that's all it is. You come up with a system, you come up with a process, you either do some of it internally because you have experience, or you know, contract the rest of it. And it's like, that's how a lot of these platforms are built. And it's like, and I know it sounds so weird because it's like overly simplifying things that are very complicated, but it's like, then you scale that up times, you know, 10,000, and you have a Walmart or an Amazon. Now, granted, as you have more money, system, processes, people, departments, international relations, you get to become more sophisticated. But I mean, you know, put a sheep in 9,000, you know, costumes of a lion doesn't mean it's any different than a sheep in lions or whatever. You know what I'm trying to say. It's like, it doesn't matter how many layers you add to. What do they call it? They call it
wolf's clothing.
No, a wolf in wolf's clothing. I think that's
wolf in sheep's clothing.
A wolf in sheep's clothing. It doesn't matter how many sheep's, you know, sheep jackets you put on. You're still the same wolf on top. You know, with
we'll get through this together.
Yeah, we'll get through it together. So it doesn't matter how many layers you add to it. It's still conceptually the same thing. You know, and then you bring some of it internal, so it becomes more originally, you know, sourced and curated and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, you know, and again, I'm simplifying things that are, you know, really complicated. I'm just saying, like, this is how these things start. And I'm just like, you know, it's going to, if you already have a portfolio of technology softwares and platforms and whatever mediums that you constantly are creating, constantly innovating or whatever, TikTok is not going to be the last one that ByteDance has in their portfolio that takes off or does certain things in certain markets or whatever. So I tend to think in where's the nucleus of this? Like, where's it? Like, is it legit? The whether you want to call it the power trip, the, like you said,
like just the internet.
Not necessarily the internet, but it's like, okay, are we solving the problem, or are we solving the symptom? The symptom right now is TikTok is a viral app. That's
what do you mean? Like, what are we solving?
Relationships between, you know, international relationships, in this case, in digital products like TikTok, right? So right now, by taking TikTok to the US in any fashion, in partnership and ownership and whatever ship, right? That's not solving anything, because you still have these giant China companies that own all of these brands, own all these platforms, and there's going to be another one. TikTok wasn't the first. TikTok isn't going.
But what do you think? What do you think? Like, do you think anyone's trying to solve anything? Like, I don't think.
No, and that's
what just trying to get power and get information.
That's the point I'm trying to make. Essentially, is sideways make the point that it has nothing to do with these. Like, yeah, I mean, you're watching a chess game is essentially what I'm saying. It's not like any of these people are trying to solve, you know, international relationships between the US and China, so that way we can in harmony have these apps that work together.
You're never there's no working together. That's
like, what I'm saying.
But what a lot of people
they're making it seem like that is the goal in the media and whatever.
Well, the media is going to make you we know the media makes you tries to make you think a lot of different things. The media has their own narrative.
Right.
The media narrative is Trump is evil. Everything that he says and does, everything is evil. Like, end of story. Like, you'll hear about, I don't want to get into like some of the other types of content, but
yeah, even as we're talking, I'm getting like notifications for that comment on the
even just like what yesterday, right? Did you hear about the officers that were shot? Bro, so this is in Los Angeles. So these two deputies, sheriff's deputies, I believe, were in their car at like a train station, like, you know, they're probably stationed there, like making sure the train, right, people aren't getting this black guy is just walking casually, like, you know, sideways back to the car, turns to the car, shoots both officers. Black guy just turns like spontaneously. It's caught on bullshit crap camera, of course.
Yeah.
Shoots both officers, runs away. They're both in critical condition in the hospital. Protesters were outside the hospital blocking the emergency like lane, protesting, and some of the protesters were like chanting that they hope they fucking die. This is so fucked up, bro. One was a 31-year-old mother of a 6-year-old, a mother, just a cop doing her job, and the other one was 24 years old, both just graduated from the academy like 14 months ago. Just in a car, not doing anything. This isn't like, oh, they're on the job.
Right.
But where are you going to hear that? Like, I'm really like wondering if I go to like right now to like CNN.
Yeah, just like.
And I never like, dude, and I never, I'll bring this up actually. I never like, you know, was never like, oh, left versus right. I don't like calling myself one thing or the other. But let me see this, right? Let's see this. Check this out. I'm going to share the screen. All right. This happened yesterday. All right. Right. What do you see there?
Sorry, what tab are you on here?
Right. What do you see there?
It's actually not big enough for me to read.
You don't see that, right?
Right.
You don't see that, like, because it doesn't fit the media's narrative.
Right.
Okay. If you saw, let's say, white man walks up to two black people in a car, shoots them both, that would be everywhere. People be rioting, protesting. There'd be it would be Judgment Day.
So like, just hit in there on the front page as if it's not a.
I'm looking for it. I'll see if I could find it. Let's see. I don't even see it.
I think you can just. Well, I mean, you would have to know the title, but
dude, trending Hurricane Sally, Kelly Clarkson divorce at the top. I'm literally looking for it on my screen. Bro, like, that's fucked up, right? How about this? I can't find it. But right here in the corner, protests erupt in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and arrest made after a police officer shot and killed a 27-year-old man. What about the black man who's literally at large? Like they didn't catch him. They don't know who he is.
Jeez.
No, it's like, dude, we have a 28-year-old black man wearing black. Have you seen him leaving in a black car? Great.
Right.
Very specific. We're gonna nail that one, bro. I cannot find even a reporting of it. That's disgusting.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's disgusting when you're gonna have this kind of shit. Trump baselessly questions climate science during briefing. Who gives a shit, man? He's not a scientist. He says a lot of dumb shit. Leave it. Just fucking, it's not important. This is just like, look, this is just because it's like the fucking election. I do not see anything. All right. I don't see a fucking thing. That's embarrassing, bro.
Yeah.
That's super embarrassing. Let me, now, I'm not going to pick on, well, I can, but let's do Fox News. Let's do Fox News. Let's see what's going on. To see if that even comes up. Just to see if it's anything. Where the fuck is this story? It's probably because they didn't find anyone. It's like, oh, well, we don't know where he is, so how can we have a story about it, right? Jesus Christ, this makes me believe, like, did it even happen? Where is this shit? Oh my God, what the hell is going on here? Exclusive clips. Let's see. 2 officers shot in LA during traffic stop. Let's see. Boom. I Google it. Right there. It's on BBC News. Oh, it's on CNN. So CNN covered it. So two Los Angeles County deputies are out of surgery after ambush shooting in Compton. They don't say that it was by a black man. They don't, that's not the headline, bro. It's just, it's so biased, man.
It's all bias.
I know, but it's like disgustingly biased. Like the more you go into it, the more it's like, it's just shameless, right?
Right.
Shameless. And it's just embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Anyway, I just found that like, how is that not? And the thing is, a lot of stuff happens in the world. So like one of the things that I've noticed just from a content creation standpoint, because we've been friends since the beginning of all this.
Right.
You know, there's no shortage of content. So ever since I launched Red, White, and Swole, this has, I mean, and I have no shortage of content. I create my own content. I make content with my own content. Like I don't need any other information to make my own content.
Yeah.
Which is great. Like that's one of the things that most people have a problem with. I have too much content to create. I just can't make it all. So one thing that I've realized from doing Red, White, and Swole is holy shit. You start covering news or topics or politics.
Yeah.
Talk about
savagery.
Literally when I first started the channel, I'm still making videos pretty much every day, but it got to the point where I was like, this is not the only channel I have. I cannot follow every fucking story. So I have to like pull back and focus on what catches my eye. And what I really try to do is try to balance out what you hear in the mainstream. Like no one's hearing about that situation. And I think it's more important. It's not that story, you know, people die every day. There's horrors every day, but it's like, right. What are you focusing on? Are you focusing on Trump doing this? Are you focusing on, like, we don't want to talk about anything aside from what fits the storyline, right? We talk about media. We talk about social media telling a story. It's storytelling. Well, you don't want your news outlets telling a fucking story. You don't want your news outlets telling you a story. You want them to report on what happens,
right?
What happened. And if you're not reporting literally on what happened, but you're focusing on the mostly peaceful protests or the peaceful protests or the demonstrators, all these different words for fucking riots and people getting assaulted and harassed because of these ridiculous narratives, they don't promote that. And I'm not saying that, you know, white, like we don't talk about black on police crime. We don't talk about black on black crime. Remember that little Family Guy clip I sent you?
Right.
Dude, did you watch? That was funny as shit.
How long ago was that?
What, when they posted that?
When you sent it to me.
Oh, I sent it to you before the other video. Well, your iMessages were messed up.
Oh, okay.
No, it was before the other video. It was before. It doesn't matter. My whole point was, it's interesting how, you know, since doing the Red, White, and Swole channel, knowing what I know about content and storytelling, you just see. And I think again, going back to what we talked about in a previous Procast, now that everyone has phones and TikTok really ramped that up. You know, Snapchat was the first, Instagram stories, but then TikTok, it's like everyone from 7 years old to, you know, everyone on TikTok. So now there's an app for everyone. Everyone's creating content. People understand content. There's more transparency with what is being done with your data, how to make money.
Right.
Bro, there's a new, oh my God. We should bring it. We should watch it here, bro. I want to see if we could should we do it here? Yeah, let's do it here. Bro, there is, so you know the houses on TikTok, how you get the creator house. Remember the Team 10 with Jake Paul on YouTube? So remember the hype house, right? Yeah. And there was like another house. I got this just lands on my For You page. Bro, there is a new house. So I don't know who's backing this financially, but some of these people have like 300,000 followers. I'm like, I have more followers than you on TikTok. I'm not getting invited to a house. So this intro video was like, so they're all wearing masks, right? We got to watch them. We got to watch some of these videos. I'll bring it up. And the comments are delish, bro. We should literally just go through these comments because the comments are saying literally no one knows who you are. No one knows it. Like everyone's like, who are you? Like, why do you have a house? No one knows who you are. Oh, it's so good because
they're all just TikTokers.
Yeah, but these are people with, and you can see these are inflated numbers. Like when you have 1 million on TikTok, it's like,
right? It's
not 1 million on YouTube, bro. Right? So like, there's like the legit, or there's more. It doesn't even matter. I mean, you can have a lot. I mean, it depends on what you're trying to do, but there's a lot of fluff with TikTok. I mean, the thing is that's here to stay potentially. Let me see, TikTok. I don't know, but there's a new house. I think it's brilliant. I think it was brilliant. I remember saying that when we first started watching that Team 10 thing that Jake Paul was doing. I'm like, oh, that's brilliant. It was brilliant.
I think it was brilliant before marketers ruin everything like they always do. Like that
Always.
phrase. It's like you take something and then you got to add to it. It's no longer just a house. It's also a business infrastructure. Then we're going to add influencer marketing and brand deals on top of it. Then you're going to get upset when people want to leave the house, and then there's going to be drama, and then you got people that cover the drama. And it's like, it's literally like, what do you do when creating by yourself isn't enough and the attention you're getting enough? You all get into a mansion hotel together, and you essentially all do it in the same house together. Mm-hmm. And then you get to be, it's essentially new age reality TV is what it is, because it's like, decentralizing. I know I use that word a lot too, but it's like decentralizing reality TV, because now it's a bunch of creators in a house halfway documenting all of the content drama that everything is going through. So,
bro, I legit just load up my account. I never look at TikTok online. Bro, you're going to laugh your ass off. Version? Bro, I open it up. I literally just logged in because I just opened the app. I legit just opened the app. Hold on, I got to wait till it repeats. Dude, I legit just opened the app. And I get the... I just opened it.
Jeez.
I just opened... Literally, what the fuck is going on here? Bro, I just opened my app.
This is desktop TikTok?
Yeah, dude, what the...
I've never seen this before.
Look at this chick, like her like nipple period. What the fuck is this, bro? Dude. And then what do I get? So I get 3 chicks that are just being... And then golf heckling. They're heckling golfers or whatever. Bro, I open my app to this. I don't know. So let me... I don't even know if I can... For you. Oh, thank you. That's exactly what I want to see right now. This is what I need. Can you search here? Jesus Christ. I can't even... This desktop TikTok sucks. Suggested accounts. Do you see anywhere to search? I know it's small, but... That's what she said.
No, I don't see anything.
Following?
It's at the bottom left.
Bottom left?
Oh, no, that's not nothing.
Fucking chick. Discover. QR code. God, what is that? Upload video? Question mark. View profile. All right. Worthless. All right, let me see if I can... All right, hold on. Just fucking sluts, man. This dude, bro. I literally just like... I never use... I gotta practice this, so if we can...
That's why I always use that that not interested feature we talked about in the other... because like it's almost like the TikTok algorithm or any social algorithm goes too fast anymore. You like Instagram's made an update, I want to say like 6 or 8 months ago, where if you liked, like more than a few photos that was in a certain category or hashtag, all of a sudden that's everything on your discover page. Like I had liked like Audi and a couple other companies came out with like an electric version of cars to like compete with Tesla, like 6 to 8 months ago when they announced like Cybertruck and all that kind of stuff. Bro, I liked maybe like one picture of a new like, Audi, I forget what it's called, whatever their electric version is, right? And then legitimately like everything's the same thing. And it's like anymore, even with like, TikTok, for example, it's like even if essentially if you don't flag it or say you're not interested, they're just going to assume you want more of it. Like, so even scrolling past anymore isn't enough. You have to like legitimately be like, don't show me this crap anymore.
The problem is I save a lot of those because I did the duets. So I'm like cursed because I used to duet all those slut videos, which I think I'm going to stop. Well, I don't even know. Now I can't even post fitness content because I'm boxed into a corner of like, oh, you've posted so many different things, so we're not going to show your shit to anyone. It's like, thanks. Like literally that's where I'm at. Like I'm stagnated. I'm just like flatlined, of course, on every platform. So this is 1.6 million followers already. The Wave House. Members announced soon. Oh, I forgot you can't see it. So let me introduce you to the Wave House.
The Wave House.
All right. So you got the Wave House right here. Ooh.
Okay, so it's an asylum.
I don't know why it says wave, because there's just like I mean, it's a sick place. I don't know where the wave is, like a pool. Of course, there's music. I'm not going to play it. Dude, oh, can you see you can't see the on the right?
Yeah, I can't read the comments.
Influencers announced soon, quote, says, bruh, literally no one knows who you are. Dead. It's really a pretty house, but the members aren't. Oh, I love it too. Cause all right, so watch this. All right. That's one. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So the videos are cringe because they do this whole like mask thing. Look how ridiculous this is. Right.
You know what's going to end up happening more? Cause it's right? Basic supply and demand.
Look at this. Like no one, and everyone's like, and someone's like, yeah, I'll take these TikTok groups too seriously.
Jeez.
All right. So everyone's wearing these masks, right? And someone's like, how did I get on rich TikTok? Like, so this is what rich people do. All right. So it goes like this. And then you have this, like, so then they do like every day, they're doing like one member reveal.
And so somebody was like, nobody knows who this is.
Bro, and someone said, put it back on. Because, like the funny thing is like, do a face reveal.
Right.
So like put it back on, and people are like, why'd that feel super awkward to watch?
What is this? What is this, like a sacrificial, like what are we watching here?
No.
I'm just like, anymore it's gonna be like you have 30 different houses. They're gonna come out with a show called like the Battle of the Houses or something.
People are like, am I the only one that doesn't know who any of these people are? So then you have like these like weird, like it's super cringe. It legit is. And I don't know who the hell's thinking. I don't know where they get these masks. These things are creepy as shit. And like the comments, I wish you could see that, because people are like, who the hell are these people even? And someone said, CEO of I don't know who these people are. Like no one, like, and the whole point is like these, quote, influencers, right? You have the ones that we know, right? You have Charlie and like the ones that are like the original. But now it's getting to the point where no one, like I use TikTok, I use social media, I don't even know who these people are, and everyone using it. Like I'm looking at all these things, and here's the thing, because I'm curious. All right, who's actually, in this house? Like who's actually going on? Like, oh, we cut through a Mona Lisa. Oh, it's another diamond phase. Oh, this is probably the worst one yet. All right, no one. Did y'all just choose the least relevant creators?
What were they expecting though?
What? Oh, like people
like that it was gonna blow up or something? Like
I don't know. They probably think it has 1.6 million followers already, and they've posted 6 fucking videos. So these people have pull.
Yeah.
So, so case in point, like coming back to like just the ridiculousness of that. Yeah. All right. Well, what was I going to say? I got distracted. So I look through these people. So when they do the reveal, of course, they have a name. So I'm clicking on them, and a lot of them just don't have a lot of followers. Like I don't know who they are. I've never seen them pop up on my For You page. They have 300,000 followers. But what's crazy is that the follower count since TikTok literally ruined follower counts. And I don't know if that's going to translate to other apps, because obviously 300,000 on TikTok. Well, I think TikTok has the most people with the most followers in any app.
For you or for people in general?
Just for everyone, bro. How many people are no ones or nobodies on TikTok that have 100,000 followers?
Almost me.
But I'm saying it's standard. Like 100,000 is not a lot on TikTok. Oh, they have 100K.
Yeah,
it's not valued the same way.
1,000 on Instagram.
Like I don't think it's valued on TikTok unless you have over 1 million. Like if you don't have over 1 million, it's like, all right, you just got a little TikTok famous. You have a little TikTok bump.
Yeah,
even
clout has inflation. It's like what's interesting about that though is like they're there's a marketing and a business model behind that. And I get what they're trying to do. It's no different than NSYNC and Backstreet Boys back in the day. And then
yoke management,
exactly the same companies manage the same people, and then they'll even create internal competition to drive. So it's very similar to what we talked about in regards to having, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's on the corner. So it's the same thing with I think we already talked about it. Perlman or whatever his name is, who started NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys. It's like the same thing here. You're going to have the same management, the same talent companies, and all that kind of stuff starting these houses. Let's look at this. Driving up competition between each other, and then it's just like, it's just a.
All right, here we go. So this is the company. It says like the Wave House at Yoke Management. So of course you got this girl with the oral fixation blowing a bubble, right? Looks like she has a pierced tongue, right? She's sticking her tongue out. Mm-hmm. Looks like a tongue piercing. So obviously, all right, yeah, we know what you're about. So paving the way for next gen creators, all of which I've never seen these people before. So these are probably all the people that are in that house. I'm assuming. It seems like a relatively new company. Like they just probably got a bunch of money together. Hey, we'll rent you this house. Go make TikToks. That's probably as far as it goes. I would say. Clients. Yeah, no one knows. No one knows what those are. Fashion Nova, but who knows what they did? They wrote an article for the page once. Who knows?
Yeah, it's just they're gonna.
Yeah, these are jabroni companies. Like no, I don't. Well, I mean, they could be huge. I've never heard of them. It doesn't seem like this is like a Squarespace thing. They just like someone with money rented them a house. Our creators case studies. Our creators, these people. Luke. Talia. You know what's really interesting and scary and frightening and very fortunate? Bro, how many of these people were going all in on TikTok? Did they not know that it was like technically on the brink, or like, do they not know how risky that is just to be a TikTok person? Like that scares the fuck out of me that all these people are just on TikTok.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's probably a lot less of a risk than we're putting gravity to as well, because I mean, anybody can start a talent agency or a market agency.
Cool. 15 people. Cool story, Hansel. Very cool. Cool. I remember my first beer.
Right.
So you got money. You got yourself a house. Got yourself a management company who's going to do what? Pay the rent.
Right.
And take a percentage of whatever sponsorships that you have to do in your videos, right? You have to like do it with like this kind of champagne bottle. So then Yoke Management is gonna be like, hey, we have this many followers, we can make these ads and these videos. So obviously all those TikTok videos are funded by the management company that are going to leverage ad space, sponsorship, and influencer marketing, which is smart. From their standpoint, it's smart. I just thought it was funny how like these houses are popping up out of nowhere, and even people on TikTok are like, who are you? It's not even like a big name. Like, okay, the Clubhouse, the Hype House, all these things burned out. But you saw like, I don't see that on my feed anymore. I don't see Hype House shit. I feel like they all burn out. Like they get their following and they're in their own bubble. Like, but every single app is so bubbled. It's so walled off.
Because people don't pay enough attention to where consumer attention is going. Like what I was saying with like it's basic supply and demand. When you have everybody doing houses, it becomes less attractive from attention perspective. Like
shit, right?
Yeah, if for example, if when The Bachelor was on TV, if there was 30 shows that had the same exact script, but they were just branded differently, nobody would give a fuck. Like nobody would care, because it's like, okay, we're all trying to get in a relationship. We get it, right? So it's almost like, if Jerry Springer was on and you had Jerry Springer and Swole Springer and KD Springer, it's like everybody'd be like, okay, everybody's doing fight shows now, like, and so it's like it's the same reason why all those young, fighting clubs and stuff like that don't take off like the UFC did and all that. It's all the same stuff where it's like people try to attention grab, clout grab, business model grab, all that market kind of stuff, and gain market share. It's almost like that squeeze the rag dry concept that we've talked about before of, that's obviously, come from other places and marketers and stuff like that. But it's like, yeah, with that phrase of marketers ruin everything. It's like, okay, you get the nerd in the room, you get the talent in the room, you get the technology in the room. And then, again, I mean, you said it perfect in your last little dialogue there where you said They're going to sell advertising, influencer marketing, brand relations, whatever, but it's still built on the back of a platform that's still trying to figure out its foundation. So, but we also don't know, like with Yoke Media or whatever the heck they're going to call themselves, or what Yoke Brand Man, what was it called? But it's like, they could be doing this. They could be doing channel specific branded parts of their agency too. Like, they could essentially have one version of Yoke for TikTok, one version of Yoke for YouTube, one version of Yoke for Instagram, and not that they would do the same thing but it's like, people don't understand how easy it is to, like you said, click a couple buttons on Squarespace or, GoDaddy or whatever it is, create an infrastructure, create brand, create content, and what's so funny is like, it's the same thing like that I did way, way, way back in the day when I first started my first company, which was music education. Because I had half a head on my shoulders, I was like, nobody is watching any of these videos of me doing rudiments and drum videos and lessons or whatever, but there's a lot of up and coming artists in the music industry who are going to be mainstream in like 36 months. And if I just rub shoulders with those people, give them better media, aka aggregate, the 5 or 6 little Canon cameras I had at the time, fly them into our studios, allow them to have better content or whatever, then we can leverage that attention. And then we could start, providing creators better opportunities and provide brands better opportunities to, partner with creators. The idea is nothing new. It's been what people have been doing for a long time. It's just so interesting to see like them do it in like not groves, almost like packs, if you will, and it's like, and who's to even say, and again, not to add a conspiracy twist on everything, but who's to say that, there's not even a internal TikTok fun version of like, if you can get up to 8 creators with over X amount of followers or whatever, like, and you just never know what's going on behind the scenes of like why so many people are doing the same. There's like, because at the end of the day, it's dollars and cents, like, so it's like somebody's paying for it somewhere, and it's either way more than you think or it's way less than you think. And so it's just like, and then at the end of the day, when it doesn't work, do you ever hear about it? No. If it does work, do you have 10,000 people that try to do the same exact thing? Of course, so it's like, it was almost like when those paintings went viral on TikTok, where people would put like, so I think it started with that Caleb dude or whatever that would spin his canvases and drop paint on it. And at first everybody was like, wow. And like, celebrities were buying paintings for like 50K or whatever.
Or like he like drops like the paint and it's like,
Yep. And then you get like, Joe Schmo in his backyard who attaches like a thing to a drill or a spinning bicycle or whatever it is.
Splatter painting, bro.
Everybody is doing splatter paintings and now they're $8 instead of 50,000. And it's like, okay, so does it make the original art less, does it make us more fooled? Does it like it's literally it's almost like watching people who didn't go to business school, which is also me, but like have to live in business environments at an accelerated pace without knowing what they're doing. And it's almost like, it's super weird to watch, because I'm like, let's see. I mean, I think Drake's, not to bring another industry into this, but Drake's famous for saying of like, let's see who's still here in 10 years, because really at the end of the day, what's working sustains. What's working is still going to last. And it's like, I can almost guarantee, even just from a timeline perspective, I can guarantee when all of those jokers are in their late 20s, early 30s, a couple of them have kids, a couple of them have like long-term relationships or whatever. It's like everything else, like your business decisions are going to have to mature. Your even content decisions are going to have to mature. There has to be some sort of like, you can't just asylum and frat house your way to, will 1% of them be the next Jenners and the next, the next Kardashians and the next, West and all this kind of stuff, whatever. Of course, you're going to get at least like a little Brady Bunch group, that's going to come out of it. And, you're still going to see their names, 5-10 years from now. The rest of them, they will be, and not to sound like all doomsday or whatever, but a lot of them are just going to be once was or has-beens or whatever, unless they figure out what their craft is. It's the same thing in sports. Like there's certain people you just don't hear their names anymore, even if they had dope games, dope championships, dope whatever. It's like you're either Michael Jordan, LeBron, or you're not. It's anymore. It's like you're either Charlie or you're not. You're either the Pauls or you're not. You're either, and it's like, and I'm not saying like
early, bro. She was early. Yeah, she would be, if she didn't start when she started, she'd just be another should just be another TikToker.
Right.
I mean, I am very hard pressed to imagine that any of them, because now it's like, again, having 100,000, 200,000, 400, unless you see that 1.2 or the 2 point, you're another dancer on TikTok. She was just early. She was at the right time. She did the right dance. Same thing with Addison. These are just people that were early. So they grew really fast. So they got that snowball going.
Right.
You know, I mean, I'm just, I was already plugged into Musically. I'm just frustrated that, like I said, I would never like get on my heels with an app again. And I should have been hammering for the whole 5 years and, or 3 years, but whatever. I don't really think it isn't what it might be someday. And it's definitely not something that, it's not necessary. It doesn't have like the same platform that the other ones do yet.
Right.
We'll see what happens with the transition, but I like what you said. I wanted to kind of head down a different road, kind of the same one. But when you said that, the frat house, like obviously they're going to have to adapt and stuff. I'll just pose this question to you, and then because I have my own thoughts on it, and I just want to hear your sense on it. I'll give you my opinion. I think it's not a tragedy, but I think that because most people don't know who they are. They are, I would say, almost signing that. I don't want to say signing their death, but like their content or their viability, like they're signing away their shit too early. Mm-hmm. They are like, the height or the wave house, or whatever fucking house. Right. Okay. That's the brand. And that's why the management company knows that. The wave house. Yeah. Whatever the fuck that means. What, there's a pool? Oh, the wave. What the fuck does that mean? You're creating waves? Ooh. That's the brand. The person, I looked at, I don't know those names. No one does. Yeah. So they're literally just becoming a minor player in something that's going to phase out. They're killing their own growth. Like they're not branding themselves. Charlie is Charlie. Like, fuck, this girl who no one knew a year ago. No one knew who she was a year ago. Well, at this point, a year, but a year and a half ago, she was a zero. Didn't even have TikTok, didn't have social media or whatever. Mm-hmm. Now you don't even need a last name. What, she's Prince and Cher, like J-Lo, like get the fuck out of here. A-Rod, like she's just a name, Charlie. Right. In the TikTok world, she is. You say that outside, people are like, huh? For now, like who knows? Yeah. Right. So people say, oh, Charlie or Addison, like who those are because they're like 70 million people. People know who The Rock is. People know who that one name. So what they're doing is they're too early. They're cutting themselves, like they're trimming their bush or their tree, like they're trimming it too early. They cut the wrong thing. Like they're cutting the stem. They're not trimming the branches. They just fucking chop themselves. They chopped off their legs. Like it's too early. They're not building their own shit. If you build your own brand, like if Charlie gets to this point and then she's like, hey, we're doing the XY, this, like she went to a house, she did the house thing, but she was already big. It didn't matter. Yeah. And she maintained her personal brand and all that stuff outside her own thing going. Once you're under a management, who knows what contracts those kids signed? They could have signed away all their content, period. They can't make anything else aside from the house. They have to make this many posts. They have to do this kind of thing. Like, no one's going to know who they are because they're not going to develop on their own because they're just going to follow the directions until this company fucking chokes or TikTok isn't popular anymore and they don't know how to translate to other apps. Like, oh, here are creators. What, 20 people that no one fucking recognizes? Right. Oh, yoke management. Get the fuck out of here. You have 1 million whatever on TikTok. Oh, good for you. So does everyone else. Yep. I'm just, it's not impressive. Yeah. It's not impressive. Like I don't, it's, you have that many followers from what, 6 posts? Okay. So all their followers that like them came to this one page. Now what? Right. Now what? I mean, TikTok already popped, man. I'm sorry, but it's already matured. It's just much faster than people realize. It's matured. It's there. I mean, it says, honestly, I think it's as mainstream. I almost think it's as mainstream as it's going to get. I feel like it's peaked just like Instagram. It's peaked like Snap. It's peaked without the same substance. There isn't the same type of like, this is where I go to get my content. Like there's older people on it, but it didn't have that. Ready for this? You're going to like this shit. It's not like you don't, how should I say this? You're not making beer. TikTok is a beer. Instagram, Facebook, that's a whiskey, bro. That's a wine.
Mm-hmm.
Like those things matured and grew and created that fucking base. People gave their information. You really have that. I'm not saying they don't have data because you have a lot of facial recognition. Like they can fucking leverage that. But will they though? In this climate where people are really hyper aware to what information they're grabbing, you got kids who might have buying power in the future. You might be buying the future, but what about something else that pops next? What about the next thing? I just feel like this matured so fast. It's almost like, God, I'm coming up with all the analogies right now. It's like a 12-year-old that's 7 feet tall and really awkward, right? They're just an awkward kid. They haven't grown into their body yet. They're just too big. Like the 13-year-old that you're in school with, that's just like a giant, big, clunky, just because he's too big for the coordination.
Right.
You know, it's not matured. Like it's big, but it's like a big ball of styrofoam, whereas Facebook and all these things are just fucking lead.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep. Yeah, they're set in stone. You're widgetized until you're not, which is why I think, I can't remember which episode we talked about it in, but I was talking about how I think the one thing that can save TikTok is sort of like their platform relations and media relations, because essentially what they were doing with the creator fund, the education fund, partnerships with like United Masters, now what they're doing with, now granted, this is all in like the headline version of it, but now what they're doing with Oracle or potentially doing with Oracle or whatever, the only thing that can save you from the demise of the attention ticker is for you to have establishment or dominion in a, industry or a place or whatever. So it's like, if you can establish yourself very similar to like what you said as lead, like Instagram, as Facebook, like, Amazon Smart, create AWS, right? AWS, now all other platforms at that enterprise level have to rely on our stuff. So even if we're not relevant forward facing, we're relevant as the back end, almost manufacturer of these ecosystems. So like, I think that, and again, this is where I was saying, like with the ByteDance, this isn't their first rodeo. So they have to, and they have people who have probably worked for a gazillion companies before even ByteDance, and it's like Disney. They all have to be aware of it,
Yeah, I'd step down. He's like, "Fuck."
Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, I'm done. I'll come in. I'll leave." And it's like because they know they're like they know the platforms are a dime a dozen. They know the execs that work for them are a dime a dozen. They know that the creators that are on there are a dime a dozen, because you can. And the other thing I think that TikTok is I think TikTok has two battles. It has the battle of the media war, but it also has the battle of the maturity of like almost like the cultural mind, because like you were almost touching on it too, of like it's one thing to increase your buying power or come into buying power rather, like, the maturity of like, now I make buying decisions and now I'm part of the economy and the workforce.
You mean
and all
the
that
user?
Kind of stuff. Yeah, the user. It's one thing for like a user to want to be 15 and now you're 25 and have a family and all that kind of stuff. Right. It's another thing to now have power over the attention cycle before the buying cycle, if you will, like, because you get attention, but now we know where our attention is being spent, how people are benefiting from it, what companies, like you said, what data are they getting from us or whatever. So it's almost like the overall maturity of the culture, understanding how this stuff works, is also a battle that platforms like TikTok have to face, because now you're not only it's one thing to go against other competitors while your user base is naive to how it's even working, than to go against competitors and also have a user base that understands how your crap works, because now you have to like walk on eggshells, because you have to make sure that you're not only saying the right things, you're doing the right things, but then you're accountable for all the decisions you're making for now in a way that we've never been accountable before. Imagine getting roasted and going viral on your own platform, or whatever. It's like, the one thing, I want to bring this up because the Instagram CEO started, and I told you this on text message, but he started those vlogs or whatever, where he just, he came back from like a, whatever you want to call it, vacation, sabbatical, whatever the heck you want to call it. It was like an extended leave, over the last 2 or 3 months. How convenient. Granted, he was having a baby and all this kind of stuff, but it's like now all this stuff is happening and he just happened to not be around, and the team carried me while I wasn't there. But anyways, he's vlogging all that kind of stuff, and he was saying,
you mean?
Yeah, the Instagram, one of the higher, I don't know if it's the CEO or one of the higher ups at Instagram, but they started vlogging, and I saw the first episode on Twitter of him explaining how, they launched Reels, because TikTok led the way with vertical attention and blah, blah, blah. But one of the things that he said was key is he said something around like media and news anymore is going down to the individual creator level, to where it's like now you can have somebody pop up, and this is where I'm going beyond what he was saying. Now you can have somebody pop up that's like a 17-year-old who has just as much media attention as channel whatever Action News, and it's like now you're literally reliant on information through the lens of their either maturity or lack of maturity, or their understanding or lack of understanding, or their perspective or lack of perspective, their bias or lack of bias or whatever. And it's like then you have like fractional understanding, because the people who watch that, then they're going to interpret it, and now they also have their own channels, and they're going to be talking about it in their own light and half agreeing with this person, whatever. And it's kind of like what we're seeing right now, even with the comment section on one of your recent videos on Daily Swole. It's like so out of you're literally
what are you talking about?
Right. It's like you're literally doing what people are arguing and fighting for you to do, and they're not even seeing it. It's right in front of their freaking eyes. You're literally saying exactly what they're like, and it's like people don't even know why they're taking stances anymore. It's like you can literally in a second, because of 15 words on a screen, you're gonna hate somebody as if they're Hitler, and I'm just like, you got like go do something with your damn life, you know what I'm saying? Like other than,
well, think about this, and I really do think that the pandemic fast-tracked TikTok. I mean, think about how fast that blew up. Think about remember when I said right when it was like, ooh, it really got funky?
Yeah.
When the pandemic, like right around February was when it just got, TikTok just kind of went full, because everyone was home doing nothing.
Right.
All the guys and chicks are at home, fucking all the kids are horny as shit. They're just taking off their clothes. Oh my God, I get followers. I'm doing OnlyFans. People were just it ramped up social media. Like it literally, and that comes back to the styrofoam like analogy, because it grew so much faster than it would normally, because people were literally locked in a box.
Right.
And says, here's your way out. They watch everything on Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime. They're just fucking fried. They're on Facebook. Those aren't, Instagram's boring as shit, son. Instagram is boring as fuck. No one's on Facebook like searching and surfing. Maybe your mom is, right? No one's on Facebook really using Facebook. I mean, I say no one, but like where's the hot attention? It's Twitter. It's Twitter from like the older generation because of the news, because it's very unique, and TikTok. Like those are the apps that are popping that are really immersive, that you want to lose some time in your life, go on TikTok. You'll be like, what fucking time is that? I remember going online, like I'll just scroll for a little bit. 3 hours later, like what the fuck? And then I realized, okay, this is like crack. This is hardcore addictive without even realizing it's so immersive, but I respected it. And I was learning the app. So like I wanted to allow myself to get into it, but then I pulled back. Like it's a cesspool, which is why I'm like really hesitant to create on. I'm just kind of really burnt out from it. But I feel like with the lockdown, it ramped up and it matured. It was like a forced maturation where it didn't have like the gradual, oh, people are getting more cell phones. Cell phones are more affordable now. Now everyone has an iPhone. You can get an iPhone SE. You don't have to get like a full blown $2,000 iPhone. You can get a $300 one. Oh, we'll give this one for free at Walmart when you sign up for, your pay as you go cell phone plan. Like everyone's got iPhones now. iPhones are like fucking like you have like they're paperweights now. Remember it was like, oh my God, an iPhone. It's like I have a 6 Plus like somewhere that I use for an alarm sometimes. Like I don't even know where the like right. Just a 6S Plus just lying around. But it's like it's unusable now almost, right? Unless for Wi-Fi or for an iPod.
Right. I've got one of those floating in the closet somewhere.
Right. Everyone does, right? So, it's a backup for whatever, who knows? But it was like a forced growth and it's just not there yet. And I think people are so in tune and people are such creators now. Just, people are up to speed. People have matured to the internet. Mm-hmm. It's not the other way around. It's now the internet's matured to humans. Now it's surpassed. It's like almost like, okay, bored. What's next? That's why the protest kicked off. You think the protest is really, you think it's so much, you think people are that passionate and really believe that much that there is systemic racism, like to the point where you have to riot, to the point where you have to overthrow. Like, I think there's less than there ever has been in history. and far less than most countries. Like, does it mean that things are perfect? No, but like, are they fucking, you want to go back to 1945?
Right.
Like, are you crazy? Like, you want to go back one lifetime to like your parents, like in the 60s or 70s? You think it was better then? You fucking morons. Like, it's not, like, what do you think, where do you think you're living? Where do you think you're living, right? That's just amplified by all this. It's amplified, and everyone's rushing out into the streets. Like, right? And you look in the media, well, protests are fine. COVID doesn't exist, right? The virus doesn't exist if you're protesting. So it goes that direction because people are just fucking like, they want to get out. They have all this pent up aggression. They lost their job. They're miserable. They have no purpose. They've been watching Netflix for 5 months. They're just fucking fried out of their mind. They've been getting eye fucked with bullshit propaganda on the news every fucking day, on TikTok every day. TikTok is so fucking progressive. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's like YouTube or this, but with Chinese censorship, where they don't give a fuck. Remember, like, you know that they block, just remove videos.
Yeah.
Like, you don't get that on other apps the same way. You'll get like, oh, if you get flagged enough on TikTok, you'll get just fucking removed, and then you'll see literally just nudity, totally fine, millions of views, and I'll post something that's funny, blocked.
Yeah.
For what? Because I talked about obesity, which is a fucking epidemic long before COVID. I'm sorry, but you know, in 4 months, you've lost more people from obesity than COVID.
Yeah.
Like, and by the way, all these months where you're tallying up all those deaths from COVID, didn't stop people dying from obesity, but they're probably marked as COVID deaths because X, Y, and Z, but 30 to 40,000 people a month from obesity related issues, but we're worried about COVID.
Right.
I'm not saying you shouldn't, but at the same time, no one gives a fuck about the other stuff that's actually going on. We don't want to change those things.
Right.
We don't want to address the real things that we can change because food, drugs, we got to make our money, right?
Yeah.
It's such bullshit. And I think people are just so aware of it. Like, how do you go back, bro? How do you go back to trusting the government? How do you go back? I don't care who wins. I mean, it's you know, one person's going to win. I think if Biden wins, I think this country's fucking done, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying it's not, like, I don't know. I mean, if Trump wins, bro, what do you think is going to happen if Trump wins?
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of
do you
outrage.
think well, first off, I don't think this is going to end in one night. I think there's going to be some kind of bullshit fucking push and pull, tug of war, unless there's some like unanimous landslide. There are going to be some. I think what happens if there's riots, I think you start getting like second term president. I think you start getting like some martial, like, oh, fuck. I think his staff, and I think what's going on is he needs to be tough on this, and he's been talking about this, right? Offering aid to all these different states and the Democratic governors and mayors that are just not taking action, because I really truly believe that they think that it's going to reflect poorly on him.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if he wins, it's probably going to be like, well, now I don't have to answer to anyone. I'm not getting reelected, right?
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, but I think there's going to be hardcore fucking riots and protests and people that are going to want to split. This is not my country, this and the other.
Yeah.
Like, fuck, if Oregon wants to secede or something, fucking go. Oh, Washington State, good. We'll miss you.
Now we're getting into the place too where people who grew up with us are coming into the positions even to make some of those decisions, like where they're working for the state, they're working for the government because their mom and their dad did, you know, and all that kind of stuff. And it's like, you know, so we're just, and not to sound like really like deep abstract, you know, whatever you want to call it, high and lofty, spiritual, whatever, but it's like it's a huge like generational shift of like all of it's coming into millennial and lower, like in a very deep way. Like, you know, like just, I mean, you got to think about even my infrastructure, like my family infrastructure. It's like 5-6 years ago, I wasn't concerned with half of the things I'm concerned with now because all my kids were toddlers essentially, you know, so it hadn't hit me yet that, oh, I'm controlling a household, let alone the fact that I'm an entrepreneur. And now my kid, like my oldest kid is 8 years away from being where I was when I started business. And I'm just like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's already in a place to where it's like, you know, all of this is going to be subject to what is arguments now becomes like reality tomorrow, if you will. But it's like the person who's going to have the power in a lot of these decisions are going to be the people coming into power. And that's why like a lot of these companies are, why do you think all of these companies are focused on you don't see Oracle going out there buying companies that cater to, 40 and above, right? Because they're not like, and I hate to say it, and it has nothing to do with like, ageism or whatever. It's just like, that's not like, just from a biological standpoint, you want your company to go down in generations. If you're an Oracle or a Microsoft or whatever, you don't want it to die out because you're only serving, like it. And now granted, all of these life cycles talk to each other. Like you can have younger companies that grow into bigger companies, whatever. I get all that kind of stuff. What I'm just trying to say is like, I feel like we're seeing all of these roads hit at the same time. Like it's almost like a perfect storm of like the workforce has changed, plus the way that the workforce even operates in general is changing in regards to a lot of offline models going online, which means you have a lot of people who usually wouldn't or didn't have power coming into power in a lot more than just one ways. I think you said it the best way when I think like 2 or 3 episodes ago, you said, what happens when the kid's the breadwinner in the house? Now multiply that by how many households, multiply that by households in different regulated, or in different economies with different regulations, and it's like, now I add on top of that everything we're talking about: media wars, government wars, politic wars.
Same thing happens with the lockdown. I mean, you forget about like the youth and the young kids, but think about what happens when, oh shit, you don't have an online presence. Well, you're out of work.
Yeah.
And you're out of business. And and people are waiting to open back up. And it's like, if my business got shut down, I would not be trying to open that. I'd be like, I understand, like that's the immediate, like, let me open back up so I can stay afloat.
Right.
But that's a hard pivot. I know a lot of gyms and places were going to like online classes and this. It's like, that's a late pivot because all of a sudden that stuff's commoditized and everyone's online. So now what?
Yep.
You're just another thing online because you don't have a brand. You're just a yoga studio, or you're just a personal trainer online. So you have your clients. Cool. How are you getting clients? How are you marketing to clients?
In fact, if you're not good at branding and marketing, you are the most liable if you're, in your example, a yoga studio. Because guess what? A yoga personality doesn't have a yoga studio they have to pay for. Inventory they have to pay for. Staff they have to pay for. It's like,
people ask me, and we talked about this before, people have asked me, oh, I hope you someday open a gym. It's like, fuck no.
Yeah.
I think that's the worst investment possible.
Yeah.
I always did before the pandemic. It's like, why would I want to have insurance and overhead and all this equipment and all this stuff? If anything, it'll be a private gym for me in my house, in my garage or something.
Yeah.
I don't want a big fucking place. If anything would be for me. It would be like a personal thing. Like, I don't want a big old thing where a lot of people, I don't want to fucking have to worry about other people's situations. Like, that's not a business plan I want to get involved with, owning a fucking gym. I definitely like my own gym with my logos and my shit, like a headquarters. Like, cool. But I don't want it to be a thing where I have to deal with other people and stuff like that. I mean, it's just not it's vulnerable. Like, if you have I always said this from the beginning, 4 years ago, it's like, if you have an in-person, I saw this when I was doing training, when I'm doing personal training, it's like, fuck, I have an hour. I have to train someone an hour, one person. And the thing is, I was doing, at that point, even when I was training before, but I was teaching tons of people. And I did workshops, and I taught like 30, 40 people in a class at a time.
We met, you were still doing hot yoga classes.
Yeah, but I'm talking about before, like I was teaching people to become personal trainers in a classroom.
Yeah.
So I was teaching anatomy and kinesiology and personal training and ethics and nutrition and stuff, and hands-on and foam rolling and how to cue, form, like all the stuff. I was preparing them for personal training exams. It was like a 9-month program. So I was doing that already. So you're multiplying time, and I'm working with tons and tons of people at one time. And I look back and I'm like, fuck, this is like after YouTube was out. I was like, fuck, if I just put a camera in the back of the room and I recorded everything, I just posted every video of like the classes, I'm like, fuck, free content. But that being said, it's like, how do you multiply your time? Well, you teach. How do you teach? Well, you teach online. Well, where do you teach online? It's like, teach, share, talk to people. So Daily Swole podcast, 4 years later, 5 years later, it all starts with there, but it's like, how do you reach more people? Well, by doing something that can be consumed by more people. And it's like, I make a video and thousands of people can see it. I don't have to spend 1,000 hours and deal with one-on-one psychology, listen to someone's fucking problems, hearing them complain. When they're like, oh, I can't, you're like, 2 more. It's like, stop. Like when you want to say, stop being a fucking pussy.
Right.
Or sometimes, like, if you're training someone, like, come on, don't be a biche, or don't be a come on, tough. But it's like, I got to like motivate you to work out. It's like, I almost resented it, right?
Yeah.
I literally almost resented, like, you don't care enough to fucking push hard. Like, really? You can't do this yourself? You can't pick up your own weights and come and do like a bench press yourself or a squat yourself? You need to come here with me so I can be like, okay, 2 more. It's like I was a glorified, like a personal trainer. I was a very good trainer, of course, but it's like, from a week, just from a write-off standpoint, it's like a glorified, I'm a paid to count.
Yeah.
And watch, oh, you're doing good. Great work. All right, 2 more.
Yeah.
Ugh, it's fuck this bullshit, man. And it's not that it's not great for some people, but I mean, just for me, it was just to the point where you have a different calling, man. It's like, I just felt trapped. I felt like I wasn't doing enough. I felt like I could do more.
Right.
And this is the best way to do it. And it's just like, but you can't be another yoga studio or another trainer, which is why I don't do all fitness contents. Because fitness content, I've said this, again, we talk about this all the time privately. It's like fitness is commoditized.
Yeah.
I don't put any fitness content online. Like I don't show here's how you bench press. Here's how you get big legs. Just fucking like, how many people do exercise? I do that inside X, right? I'll talk about that privately and I'll do the demos and I'll do all that stuff behind the scenes. But it's like, bro, all this stuff gets commoditized and it ramped up super fast over this. So now it's there. Now a lot of people aren't going back to in person, or they will, and they're going to fuck themselves up by going online for this period and then go back to, a lot of people started doing Zoom shit. They started doing stuff, but that was to hold them over. Okay, now we're going back. Cool. I'll see you in person. You fucked up again.
Yeah.
Then the next time it happens, no sympathy. You're just anyone that doesn't go completely digital now or really make a hard pivot to, at the same time, let's say their business opens back up, but they're fucking going aggressively digital. If you're not doing that, you are just like, I'll just hang around the guillotine, just for fun. I'll just hang around. I'll just put my neck in like, oh, it's out. Hey, oh, gotcha. Not this time. Yeah, bro, you're vulnerable before. And I think that's like what we talk about. I just feel like it's nonstop, constant vulnerability check. You're always checking for vulnerabilities. You're always checking to see if you are, or I'm always checking to see if the hull of the boat, if there's any leaks, if there's anything that I'm missing, if there's something that I'm not focusing on, if there's a platform that's not getting, that has attention that I'm not on, which is why it's TikTok and it's these, and it's like, cool. I mean, there's different apps and there'll be something else next, but are you vulnerable and do you have a brand? It's like, you can't just be a personal trainer.
Yeah.
Oh, John Williams Fitness. Okay.
Right.
It's just not, unless you have a very unique name, you're just like, oh, Sam Keller Fit.
It's like when everybody wants to be the same thing, it's just like, it's all going to change real quick. It's all going to change real quick. Because the point you just made is like, it almost frustrated me because I'm just like, so now every trainer is also a digital instructor, is also an author, is also a motivational speaker, is also a personality, is also a media company, is also and I'm just like, okay, so if everybody's doing the same thing, like, or it's just like my industry and my category through my eyes, and then pay for my products and my services because this is what it's like, man, I don't even know what type of world or economy that leads to when you have millions of people thinking that they are, the next, I don't know, Ellen or the next, and it's just like,
but that's where the cream rises to the top. That's where you separate the wheat from the chaff. That's where if you're good, you can think you're Ellen, whether or not you want to be Ellen, right? Like, I don't want to have a show. Like, I like talking to you. I don't like dealing with guests or waiting on someone. Oh, we'll set this time so you can come on and talk to me. It's like, I want faster shit, right? I'm like up to it's just not my style. It's not the thing. You know, if anything, I do calls or talks with members, or we do a procast and shit like that. But, you know, things can change. My interests can change. But yeah, a lot of people think that, and that's where it is right now, because everyone has to be, but it's by default. People had to go online, but they're also dealing, this fast tracked everything, bro. The pandemic, this fast tracked depression, this fast tracked anxiety, this fast tracked TikTok and platforms to the point where, holy shit, people are like, it grew faster than it should have. It popped off really big. And I just don't, I think it just popped off and burned out before it could really grow. I feel like there was a lot of substance with TikTok up to like January, February. I don't know if this is just my perception, but it's like it's like the growth and then all of a sudden the plateau. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
It was very fast. And I think it's because so many people rushed in. And I think it's because the algorithm wasn't seasoned. I just feel like it wasn't mature enough. They were letting they let so many people in. They had the gates open so long to get people hooked. So then a lot of people have these followings and they're getting shit for views because, you know, like the tags matter, but they didn't matter, but now they do. But then the titling matters, and now they're going to the feed, but now there's no, it's like,
yeah.
I feel like there's just, I feel like from a
creator, you are already behaving, that's going to affect you a lot.
I just want to finish this, but I think like the platform didn't have a chance to adapt to the user. I don't know. I just feel like it didn't have a chance to pace that because everything just got fucking ramped up the speed wise. I just feel like, I feel like the rush of people coming in were faster than the adaptation of the app. Remember like when it was blowing up, we're like, what the fuck is with these comments? What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
And like it took way too long, and like it affected the usability to the point where like, I'm not going to do that. Like, that's really funky. Like,
right.
These little things, it was slow.
Right.
Like, man, like remember the comments, how long, like they were just shitty. Like why like fucking work on that months ago? Like that should never have even been, like that should never have been like the initial flow of it. That was just awful from the start.
Right. And it's not like other platforms hadn't already solved that.
Instagram, like, right? It's just,
yeah. And if you didn't have the luxury of like what you and I did, which is build brands over the last 10 years, you're going to essentially, you know, you're going to be affected by this more than somebody who's had experience with it before. Like the only reason I didn't put stake in my TikTok following is because as I saw it going up, I knew immediately from experience. I'm like, this is all fake. I'm like I could feel it. I could feel like it's all fake. It doesn't matter. It's a number on a screen. It's not like if I put out a post of, hey, meet me in the, you know, in downtown, whatever, that 1,000 people are going to shit. Like it's fake attention. It was like, I could tell from the beginning that this is like, it's like every other fickle thing in any industry that like you want to call a lawyer in Chicago right now. How many do you think there are? All of them. Every fourth person in Chicago is probably a lawyer. Probably. It's like the same thing with like any like digital creators stuff. Like they're like, we're all doing the same thing. And I think it goes back to both identity on a personal level, but identity on a business standpoint is A, even know that you need some type of model, B, let alone what type of model you should be running, like, you know, and in alignment to what. And it's like, yeah, again, you know, 100,000 on TikTok is 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. It's 1,000, you know, followers on Instagram. So it's like, you know, when more means less and everybody's doing the same thing, like, I don't know, like, cause you know, like essentially what I'm trying to say is everybody knows the pendulum always swings the other way. What's weird though is like when the pendulum's at its like peak in regards to all of that potential kinetic energy, all that kind of stuff, and it's going back the other way, but we don't know what the other way is right now, because everything is shifting. So when the pendulum reaches the other side, what is the other side? You know, is the other side, like you said, is it mass hysteria? Is it mass hysteria? Because like people thought, like, cause for example, I hear you say something like people get that dopamine kick and excited. And I remember back in the day when the first time one of my platforms popped off in 2011, I was like, I have 12,000 Instagram followers in 2012. I was like, and I had companies that like their marketing departments be like, what are you doing? Because it's not normal for somebody to do like grassroots stuff, especially in our industry, and without like media teams. And I remember the high of like feeling like, oh my gosh, you're in control because you got power and you got people hitting you up because trying to figure out what you're doing. And then you realize over time, like it's fickle. It's no different than almost thinking you're the shit because you went to the Apple store and bought a MacBook. It's like, that's almost the equivalent anymore, because you like, while I know people aren't out here, I mean, some people are, just purchasing followers. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's almost the same thing. Like, okay, you have a MacBook. What are you going to do with the MacBook? You know what I'm saying? Like, what are you going to do with the Harley Davidson? What are you going to do with the Tesla? It's not necessarily the fact that you have it. It's almost any like, and this is, I haven't decided how I'm going to present the content, but I've been wanting to create a piece of content that's essentially like talking about the multi-dimensional creator. And what I mean by that is it's no longer any good. And this is any industry. It's no longer good to just be let's say a rapper, for example. Y'all know I make music or whatever. You need to be a musician and the producer and the person who's putting other people on, like your Dre or somebody, and the person who understands business and the person who understands management and the person who understands operation, HR, or whatever, as you're like building these things out. So it's almost like if you entrepreneurship popped off, but now it's almost like content creating is popping off, which is almost entrepreneurship without the responsibility. Because an entrepreneur is responsible.
Repeat that.
Like we have a bunch of creators coming into like, so very similar to like entrepreneurship popping off and becoming sexy and all that kind of stuff. Now it's like everybody realize, okay, I want to be an entrepreneur because I like business, but I don't want the responsibility that comes with it, aka a digital creator, where I just get to come up with ideas in my room, be on the camera, and somehow I think that's going to materialize as money because I see all of these big names who had done it, 2, 4, 6, 8 years ago, in the space. And it's almost like, how can I have all of the control and attention or whatever without the responsibility of actually building something or actually being a part of something? And it's like, so again, I don't know, when the pendulum swings the other way, what does that look like? And is it mass hysteria? Is it a bunch of people who thought they were creators or entrepreneurs and now realize that they don't know anything and that their platform isn't pulling anything? So all the stuff that you thought you knew, it's like, yeah, I don't know what that leads to other than more control over. Those people are going to need jobs. Those people are going to need security. Those people are going to need and somebody's going to provide that for them, which is why you see a lot of people trying to create the infrastructure that houses the creators right now, like the yoked, whatever, and all that kind of stuff, because they're real, like people are fickle, creators are fickle, platforms are fickle, and they're all going to change with like the media landscape. So it's almost like, we've heard these stories of the Bezoses and the, whatevers of the world creating the place that everybody goes to for so long that I think everybody has this thing in the back of their head that, ooh, I'm going to be the next empire and I'm going to be the next, like, whatever. And people don't, like you and I have said from the beginning of this procast, people don't understand the inevitable responsibility that comes along with the successful version of that. I'm not even talking about getting into the game at a higher level and then losing. I'm talking, even if you're the successful version of that, imagine succeeding in an area you didn't understand yet, and then having to be the responsible fulfillment of everything that comes along with that. So it's like, yeah, have your fun, create, be a part of a house or a, like the Garys of the world say, taste in your 20s as you're on the up and coming or whatever. So you know what you do and you don't like. But I think what the mistake is when people put the gravity on it. I think that's where the mistake happens. It's not wrong that people are creating. It's not wrong that people want clout. It's not wrong that people want attention or, to be able to spin a piece of art and sell it for $10,000 and be happy because they provided for their family during the pit. Like, none of that's wrong. It's the stake you put in it as if that's all of your significance, if that's going to be your next 50 years or whatever, without any foundation of how that stuff kind of works. And I think it's kind of and I'm trying to avoid, the reason I'm hesitating is because I'm trying to avoid saying the phrase, it's irresponsible to create without knowing what you're doing with it, because I don't want to make that hard of a claim. But what I'm saying is, like, you would never buy a 16-year-old a Tesla and be like, have fun, right? So why are we
depends on
15-year-olds?
No, it depends on why they're making the content. Like,
right.
You know this very well. 15-year-olds and 14-year-olds and 13-year-olds, they grew up and they're still growing up. They're not adults, of course, with Jake Paul, with Charlie. Like, they want to be them. They wish they were them. They look up to them.
But what they don't understand is that the internet personality side of them was only 10% of what they did to get where they are.
However, you are never before were you subjected to so many successful peers ever. And we're not talking about like, oh, LeBron James, Michael Jordan, like raisin in a popcorn, right? You know, literally like you have like, you know, the diamond in the rough. You have like the rare person with just genetic, you know, just talent, natural talent, and just ridiculous work ethic, right timing, just boom, just nailed it, right? Michael Jordan played basketball, not baseball. We know how that turned out, right? Like, you know, that was his thing and he made his mark in history, right? So you have like the rare occurrences and those rare Jeff Bezos, the rare Steve Jobs, the very rare few people that create those things, but you're exposed every single day to tons of 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, all these age groups that are just popping off. I see it too. I see all these people. I see all these fitness people younger than me, bro. I see these 17-year-olds like that are lean, that are taking gear. Like I know they're fucking taking something. They have 800,000 fucking subscribers. They have all this. And it's like, this is like, and I look at this, I'm like, this is bland bullshit content. It's just worthless content. It's worthless training content. This person, you know, but fine. People want to follow it. The market will decide, but you are constantly exposed to like, even if you scroll all day, like the percentage of people that are successful on all this stuff, 100, like you can scroll for 10 hours and you'll see 1,000 people. That's no one. That's no one. So all these kids are constantly being reflected to, and they're not mature enough. Their parents are fucking checked out. The kids are on, you know, anxiety medication, on ADHD. They're stuck at home. They're on this fucking phone. They're looking at all these girls be whores and all these guys get fucking ripped. They're just being inundated with what they're not and what they could be. And it's not like, oh, one kid's successful. They know the game. Everyone's trying to get famous on TikTok. That's why it's called, right? TikTok famous, or, you know, that's why that's a phrase, because the thing, and everyone's trying to get attention. And what happens when they don't get attention? Anxiety, depression, suicide. That's why it's all through the roof. I mean, you got girls, I mean, you know, not to, you know, put a damper on it, but obviously you need to, you know, you're raising them a different way. You have to be, you're uber mindful of that. But like the trends of like teenage and female suicide is through the fucking roof since social media, because like boys are physical. Boys will beat each other up.
Right.
Girls will fuck with your goddamn head and rip out your soul. And they'll like backstab and shit. Like imagine like the kind of drama shit that we grew up with. Imagine that with Twitter and fucking TikTok and instant text messaging. It's like, Jesus Christ, it was bad enough in person. Right. It was bad enough with like whispering. Now you don't have to whisper. You can just fucking this and, oh, show and so. Here's a tweet. Here's a picture. Photoshop and this. And everyone's photoshopping shit and putting filters. And this girl that doesn't have big boobs puts like a big boob filter on, or have like big lips or a kitty face. And it's like, Jesus Christ. You know, I mean, it's a lot of medication, depression. I mean, I don't know if things really turn out any other way, but just more medication, more. I wish it would get better. I wish it would be like, oh, this is going to get better. I don't think it does. I don't want to be like a negative, but I don't see how it gets better. Maybe it gets better managed, but I don't think it's going to get managed the right way, because there's no focus from anywhere but channels like myself and a few others, that the sparse and the rare and the few that actually don't talk about, okay, calories in, calories out. Like that whole fucking, oh, eat less food. Great. Okay, fine. But obviously, but the other areas of your life, right? The 7 pillars, we're talking about meditation, mindfulness, like just being aware of your shit. Most people aren't. And that's where we're going to fucking lose it. Because the most important things are not, it's not even the obesity. Like what causes that, bro? Right. What causes obesity, or what causes mental distress? Not having your shit together. Why don't you have your shit together? Well, you're not sleeping. You're fucking your eye holes with blue light and this goddamn bullshit all the time. You're not eating right. You're not sleeping. Blah, blah, right? All the shit. Your parents are out of work. Your parents, blah. You know, everyone's stressed out. School sucks. You're sitting in a fucking chair being taught geometry. What the, bro? School has never been less relevant. It has never been, like, education in this country has never, even in colleges, dude, they're still charging full tuition for fucking online colleges. I would say go fuck yourself. Anyone that's in college right now, just, I don't know, unless you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer, like you have to get a degree. You're just like, should I flush this over here? Right. Should I just like put this money in like in the toilet? Like, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah. Like that, you're not living in 2020, man. Yeah. You know? It's like, I resent all this shit, like looking back on them, like, oh, you fucking thieves. It's evil shit. It's evil. You don't teach jack shit. Like I'm fortunate for what I discovered about myself during college and what I learned myself and how I applied what I learned. But man, it's bad. I don't know if it gets better because we're already here. We're already seeing the
right,
but it's not. We're already seeing the rebound. We're seeing the other direction. It's just not the other direction that people are expecting. We're seeing the direction because of the mental health crisis.
Yeah,
we're seeing that dude, the mental health crisis. That's what's in the fucking streets, bro. That's what's in the streets. That's what's all those comments on that video that we talked about, bro. That's mental fucking health, bro.
Yep.
Or lack thereof. That's a huge crisis. It's not the social media. That's the fucking backlash. This is the rebound. All the shit that's going on socially, it's an outlet.
Yeah.
People are picking up a fucking flag or a reason to fucking lash out because they're fucking so anxious and wound up and stressed out, and they're fighting the power. They don't even know how to define what the fuck they're talking about. That's why everyone's just picking in a fucking enemy right online and just like you and like, you know, like you can't even fucking laugh about something that happened with someone else and like you're the everyone's the enemy. It's your fault. It's your fault. It's it's the patriarchy. It's white people. It's everyone but you for taking care of your health, right? It's everyone but you. Everyone's the enemy but you. You live in the greatest country in the fucking world and it's everyone else's problem. It's because no one's being raised with personal responsibility and everyone's just getting away scot-free. And now the house of cards has fallen and there's so much exposure to like the lies and the deceit and the trend of human nature. I mean, I don't know if the country itself falls. I think like worst case scenario, it splits into like different, you know, governing bodies. Like, I don't think I'm not sure if it necessarily becomes like a new country. I think that's just like a very global negative. I just think things will get like distributed, you know, to have like different areas or states will become more autonomous type thing.
Yeah.
You know, you'd have like Texas and like Texas has been trying to become its own fucking country for forever. You know, you have like, you know, Florida and all these different states and areas like the blue states and the red states, like it probably does get divided up or it already is, bro. You know, it's already, you know, however that looks. I think it goes to a point where there's a point where lawlessness and dissent and riots get to the point where like people still want to eat. People still want to get their deliveries, right? People still want, you know, a meal. People still want to have a house, right? When it shows up in your neighborhood, like, oh, wait, don't hurt like, I feel like it burns itself out eventually. Like, you don't just destroy everything because then everyone's just like, I don't know. I'd want to think that there's enough logical people. It doesn't seem that way. But I think because a lot of logical people are keeping quiet, you know?
Yeah.
Like they're thinking more than just fucking ranting and reacting to every last thing. People that think don't talk right away.
Yeah.
That's why they're not running their mouths because they're processing, they're thinking, they're generating thoughts and they're observing and they're planning, right?
Yeah.
But I think this is the backlash. You know, the pandemic literally just ramped everything up because the only outlet was social media. And that was my point, is that people just kind of inflated this social media. It's almost like a bullshit evaluation, right? Like Snapchat, like, oh, we'll give you 8 billion. It's like, no, we turn it down. It's like, you should have sold, bro. Right? You know, it didn't sell. And then Snapchat's like a memory for most people for now.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, it'd be great if Snapchat bought TikTok, right?
Right.
Yeah. Redemption. Boom. Yeah. So, I mean, I feel like this is kind of like, or one aspect of it. I just think the mental health crisis is something that it's going to get overlooked because that catchphrase, oh, the mental health crisis, is like the war on drugs.
Yeah.
You can just fucking write that off like the mental health crisis. If you say it, oh, you're dealing with it. You're addressing the issue. Like if you say white supremacy or systemic racism, it's like, I'm like, well, like where? Like how? Like, I mean, did you have a bad interaction with one person that was an asshole? Like, I get it. Did you have one interaction with one police? Like, I get it. Like, you know, people have bad experiences with things. So have I. I've had bad experiences with people of various races.
Right.
Doesn't mean I'm a racist. Like, it's like, oh, that person sucked, not, oh, everyone that looks that shade. It's like, that's fucking stupid.
Yeah.
It's a stupid way to think. It's an ignorant way to think. However, any way or any kind of like, right, any kind of way you can call someone, that's a very loosely used term, is racism. That's a very loosely used term. That's a very serious allegation.
Yeah.
That's a serious allegation, especially nowadays. And it's thrown around like, I don't like you. You're racist. Like that video. Like, what are you talking about? Thinking something is funny. It's not being a racist.
Right.
Like what? Judging people and hating them because of the cut. That's a completely different issue.
Right.
It's just weird, but people are conflating everything. But again, I think it's an outlet because they have so much distress and such poor mental stability from their parents. Like the millennial generation is completely not equipped with the tools. They're raised like fucking pussies.
Right.
And that wasn't like a whole American, like, oh, raise them up with their bootstraps. You got to be tougher, kids. You fucking do. Life isn't easy. And we're finding that out. Anytime someone gets offended, they freak the fuck out. You grew up with that shit too. Sticks and stones will break my bones.
Yep.
But words will never hurt me.
Yep.
Until 2020, where every fucking phrase is like violently offensive. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here. It's so stupid. I mean, I'm curious as to your thoughts. Let's air this out just because it happened today, the post.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me just set the stage. So part of what we were joking about before for everyone watching or listening, at the time of filming this is right after that little clip from the podcast with from the Daily Swole podcast, right? Are you looking it up?
No.
No. The Foodie Beauty and Charlie Gold, where she was where I was laughing at the ridiculous nature of the exchange between these two YouTubers, right? So I covered it on the podcast, and I didn't make a joke. I laughed because it's ridiculous.
Right.
And she called it this ridiculous name. This was stupid. It was the silly, ridiculous. And I have a brief history with Foodie Beauty, right? Remember, she joined the Swole fam for like a day, and she trolled it, and it's completely just train wreck, right?
Right.
So people obviously didn't watch the clip or freaked out, and a bunch of people were calling me just like completely off base. And I watched the clip again. And I'm like, where?
Right.
Where in any of that? One, you can't judge what I think is funny and what's not. I never made it humorous, like, oh, this is so funny. Racism is funny.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like, was it racism? I mean, that's opinion, right? Some people in the comments weren't offended, and they were black. Like, I don't think this is ridiculous, but people are getting way too offended by this about her comment, not mine. A lot of people are like, I agree. It's funny. It's ridiculous. And it wasn't like the actual thing. Like, my whole humor about it was the fact that it occurs. Like, look at this shit. This is fucking ridiculous back and forth. And like this person said, and just people.
Yeah. I'm still getting comments like every 10 minutes when I'm on this thing.
People are blowing because I pinned it to the top.
Yeah. And it's just stupid. I really don't care. Like, I think all of those people have no significance in my life. They are not going to be any benefit to this world if that's how they think. If that's it's for me, it's like one of those things where it's like, it's all talk. It's all pandering to stuff you have. I mean, it's basic crap like that you should have learned as a kid. Like if you're going to anybody that can't be a direct contribution to the solution of a thing, you are literally wasting your breath in your action, regardless of what the situation is. So unless you can do something about it, aside from adding to the problem, you're spreading more hate by your response than the initial thing that you were offended by in the first place. So you're literally saying, like, it's like fighting fire with fire, And so it's like one of those things where I'm just like, yeah, if you can't laugh it off, if you can't talk it off, if you can't shake it off, if you can't, if there's no options anymore, there's no out, it's literally like, okay, then let's call it what it is. We don't have free speech in this country. So let's stop pretending like we do. We don't have these luxuries that we talk about. If you can't say, like you said, a phrase, you can't have a certain stance on something without legitimately being attacked just because you have a thought, or you have a natural I don't even know what you would call at this point. Like, I would dare anybody in that comment section to watch an hour of Dave Chappelle, and I'm going to record your face. If you even smirk, I'm roasting you on Twitter. I'm roasting you on Instagram. I'm screenshotting the exact point where you smirked. I'm making a meme out of it, and I'm just going to trash your entire life because you had the audacity to have an involuntary response to something that you thought was somewhat edgy or funny or whatever, even though the situation had nothing to do with you in your life. So I'm going to live my life attacking people while and if I get into real stuff, I'll actually say stuff that's actually offensive, because if we audit how you behave, if we audit your life, if we audit your relationships, if we audit the things that you say, let's go ahead and see how that comes back around the mountain. And that's the thing that people don't understand. Like, and whether you believe in, regardless of what religion, what type of universe, karma, whatever it is, almost all of them share the same general principle that the things that you do and say somehow in some way come back around or exist in your life if you don't go to the root of a thing or whatever. You know, everybody has their own version of those same belief systems, principles, whatever. And so I'm just like, yeah, what's going to happen to y'all? What is this? You're just going to multiply what you are. You're legitimately just, and then what? You know, even if I agreed with you right now, 100% of what you said, is your day better? No. Is it going to change the issue at hand? No. None of it.
It's just very, you're just starting to see it more. This used to be the undergunch troll type 4chan style. This is what I'm seeing in comments like this. This is very much just like early, I don't want to say web 1.0, but this is very much chat room, like
right.
Xbox, original Xbox, talking shit, like calling people, bro. Like if people think that there's racism here, go on like early, like Call of Duty or games where you just literally have people just flinging every single, swear and slur back and forth, and no one's taking it. I mean, I'm sure some people took it personally, but people are just like raging on each other, right? But it looks like that kind of internet, but it's coming to the surface. And of course, people are tough online, right? You're tough when you're behind a keyboard or behind a phone, when you don't have to actually say it to someone's face. Not surprisingly, most people, or if not anyone that comments on any video, probably doesn't create content themselves. They just comment. That's their time to shine. That's their back and forth. That's their engagement. And anyone that's on a video responding back and forth to comments repeatedly, unless it's like your own comment, but you're going on commenting on other people's comments and you're, being righteous and being self-righteous and act like it's just virtue signaling.
Yep.
It's all it is. You're like showing, how woke you are, how passionate you are. What you're doing is you're replacing knowledge and actual education and actual intelligence with yelling or posting or writing in all caps. So the loudest person in the room is often misinterpreted as the most knowledgeable person.
Right.
And this is what you're seeing with social media. You can't yell loudly unless you yell in a video. And if you yell in a video, chances are you're not going to get a lot of subscribers because it's going to be annoying.
Yep.
But whoever's the most in your face, whoever grabs the most attention is, and you see this on YouTube, like, oh, well, so-and-so made a video on this. I get this in comments sometimes, like, oh, well, so-and-so made a video and said this. I don't give a fuck. I don't care if they have 10 million followers. I don't care who the fuck, like, I don't give a shit. Right? Like if I'm talking about something fitness, well, so-and-so said this. Okay. You mean someone else said something else? Ooh. You mean there's more than like just me in the world? Oh, wow. There's other people that do YouTube. Oh, tell me more. Like, fine. I don't make content like trying to appease people.
Right.
Which is starting to offend people more and more. Now I let my team know, we talk about it more, and I'm saying like, okay, like, and I said this months ago. I said, shit is going to start getting progressively more and more fucking iffy. Yep. And I said this, and it's much harder to navigate than to predict it and to say it. But I've been saying this for a long time. It's going to get more and more like there's going to be a lot of pushback on a lot of these videos. And wouldn't you know it, on like all the channels, just like distribution is jack shit. YouTube isn't distributing my videos at all. And all I do is I swear, I tell the truth, and I really talk about actual issues that people deal with, but no one wants to hear real shit. or people that do, but they're not going to see it because YouTube isn't going to, that might offend people. We can't make money by running ads because you said naughty words, whereas other people do the same thing and are totally fine with it. So that being as it may, I'm not going to complain. I'm just going to keep on doing my thing. But it's very descriptive of the type of sentiments, like you said. Like you pretty much nailed it when you said that. I was like, I got like a chill when you said about the free speech. Like, is it free? Like, we have free speech, but not if you get hung out to dry, not for even saying anything, but for laughing at a situation that you had nothing to do with.
Yeah.
Like, I could have very easily, like, if that was just on the live stream, that wouldn't have been even fucking addressed.
Right.
Like, someone might have seen it, like, because it was in the title, but no one's going to watch an hour and a half podcast and pick out, like, oh my God, maybe one person would like, I don't like what you, but you have the context if you're watching the whole damn thing.
Right.
And even in this, like,
but nobody's ever going to take the time to do that.
Bro, I love it when someone's like, oh, and I went to your other channel and I unsubscribed. I'm like, fine.
Thank you.
Like 122,000 people love my content. Like, oh, I'm sorry. Bye.
Guess what? The number one rule in marketing is to add value to your buyer persona or add value to your audience. Guess what? You're not my audience. You're making my job easier by taking yourself off all of my contact lists. I appreciate it.
Bro, I mean, so couldn't help but be the token. Oh, so now they're calling you the token black guy? Not my best friend, because it's not like we do a podcast for 2 or 3 hours like every couple days.
Right.
The token person. Probably one of the few people that I actually trust that I would want to pin, because it doesn't even matter. Again, right? It's like the ridiculous responses from people that are trying to defend something that they can't define. They're angry and they're upset. They don't know why. They found their team. They found their community. Only the community doesn't have a centralized point. It's just a bunch of people that like to get offended over things that, again, that don't impact them at all. Nothing that happened in any of that clip has anything to do with them in their life. Nothing. Right. Not one thing. They don't know these people personally. They don't know me personally. They don't know you personally. They don't know they know nothing. Nothing. There's no reason why anyone should be upset about that aside from the people that were involved. It's just that everyone's posting it publicly, so it makes it common domain. And I think it's funny as shit. I still do it. I watched the clip again and I laughed again, bro.
Yeah, it's hilarious. I don't give a fuck what anybody says. It's funny.
Dude, when I mentioned it on the phone, I mentioned it and you're like, oh, I haven't watched it yet. And you laughed.
Yeah.
I'm laughing now.
If you're that large of a snowflake to where you're going to sit there and watch video content online to base any type of reality off of, you're a complete idiot. And the funny thing is, it's going to affect your life more than anybody else, because the people you're trying to attack don't give a fuck about you. Like, and that's not a statement of like, like we're just walking around aimlessly creating content. Like, you have created thousands of videos to help people in general. You involuntarily laughed at something. Go somewhere else. Nobody gives a fuck, because the people you're trying to help are more important than pandering to bullshit. Like, so if like legitimately, that's why, like, even on those comments, I'm like, sounds good, Nicole. Have a great day,
bro.
Because you like legitimately your comment is more offensive than the original thing that you're upset
I'm looking at that. I just loaded it up, dude. Like, I'm looking at that one person that you just mentioned her name. Right. It's really embarrassing what this person wrote. Like, there's no need to respond to it. Right. Like, you can't. Like, this is someone that you cannot reason with. This is like what they just responded, like the 15 and 13, like they're responding to their own response. Like, they're just commenting on the same. Yep. Just understand, like, right? Like, just for context for people listening, this person is commenting and just like replying. They're not even replying to comments. Just like in the thread of a reply in a YouTube comment thread. Right. So it's like you posted something, it was dead on. I pinned it to the top, and this is like in the replies, and they're just like posting without waiting for a response. Yeah. I just, you know what? Like, I love comedy. I love comedy. You know what's funny? What's funny or what's not funny at all? But the fact that, like, thinking something is funny doesn't mean you condone it. Right? Like, how many times, like, at a stand-up comedy show, you watch a special, right? Dave Chappelle, like, he'll say something and you're like, oh shit, dude. and you're dying. Like you are dying because it's like, holy fuck, because it's so ridiculous. It's so offensive, but the context is like, it's just dead on. It's hysterical. It's just funny.
Yeah.
It's like watching someone do skateboarding and like they slip and like they smash their nuts on the rail and you're like laughing, like you're laughing almost like a coping mechanism. Like, oh my God, I fucking smashed his fucking ball sack. Like I wouldn't like, that's not a good thing. I wouldn't encourage that. I don't think it's a good thing that he smashed his nuts, but I didn't think it's a good idea that he was trying to do a slide rail down 2 flights of stairs either.
Right.
Right. Like you kind of like, if you're going to do it, if you're going to try that and you're going to hit your, like you kind of asked for it, bro. Like you're trying to do a jump over. Well, you didn't factor that into the risks. That's your fault. You know, it's not like you were just like someone picked you up and threw you over like a balcony into like a railing and you smashed your nuts and you're like, oh my God, that was so rude. It's like you were trying to do something ridiculous. Yeah, but you start seeing how like the culture, supposedly you have freedom of speech. However, you can literally, I'll say like electronic lynch. Mm-hmm. You can lynch or
right.
You know, pitchfork, whatever you want to call it. Anyone online, I guess that, I mean, again, cancel culture, but I didn't try canceling me. How are you going to do that?
Yeah.
How are you going to do that? I've already replied to this. I've already we talked about it in the accountability meeting. Remember, like just everyone laughed about it. Like it's got 50-50. A lot of people don't like it. I don't care if it's trimming what most people don't understand with my content is that anytime there's something like this happens, nothing changes for me. You notice that like every time there's like I pissed some people off. It's happened several times.
Right.
It goes away. What it does is the clip kind of hits a new audience that doesn't know my content, that doesn't have the context. They get pissed off, they rage a little bit, and then they disappear. And everyone in the comments like, I agree, it was funny, it's cool, like my audience, and they stay. It's trimming the bushes. Anyone that unsubscribed to any of my channels, they don't. How are you following the Daily Swole channel and all the extra thirsties? How do you follow or subscribe, and then that offends you? Like you don't follow the content. You're full of shit. Like if you're a subscriber, you're one of those bullshit ones that just you subscribed, but you don't watch the content.
Right.
You know, you have those people that pretend, and that's the virtue signaling. They pretend that they are so important, or they think it's the ego. If you think that your subscription, like I value every single one. If you value the content, if you don't value the content, then go. I don't care. Like I don't value you as an individual subscriber. If you're like, well, I'm leaving, it's like, it's a click of a button. I don't care.
Right.
Like if you don't want to watch my content, then why'd you subscribe in the first place?
Why would we?
I've been transparent from day one. I've been doing drive while gaining from like 4 fucking years. Like one of my videos is more offensive than some people's entire channel.
Right.
Like one video could get me. I talked about like, well, I don't want to even say it here because this is the PROCAST. But anyway, it's crazy where like you have to trim the bushes. Like people that you got the fair weather when they're in the mood and they want to like, oh, well, I'm leaving. There doth be the door. Like fucking go, please, please, and please just don't come back. If you're gonna go, just don't come back and rid us of your stupidity, kind of thing. I mean, this is it. Like, I mean, when you get like when a video gets that much negative attention or perceived negative attention, but like there's no change in like subscriber base, it's like, oh, you pissed off non-subscribers? Fine.
Right.
You've been warned. Don't come back. Your lack of humor isn't welcome here. It's just funny. It's just funny when I watched the clip again. It was actually, I literally laughed again and I was honestly confused. I'm not sure. I literally explicitly.
Yeah. And if you go and read my comment too, it's like you read my comment. It's like, what did I say to offend people?
No, I literally watched the video and I laughed again and heard myself completely explain that it wasn't okay. Just, yeah. It was excessively clear. Plus I was reading other people's comments, not mine. It was weird. It's weird. Again, people that are ready to be offended, but the freedom of speech, that's the crazy part, because we have all this connectability and this connection and creating business, TikTok, all the social media. But if we can't say what we think, and this is why you have less trust in Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, the big few, and you see all those independent creators where they have just a person, right?
Right.
You see the Hodge twins or any of those independent people go there for fucking news. They go there for comedy. They go there for infotainment. They go there for some common sense, like, what the fuck is this shit? Like when I do the Red, White, and Swole, I'm like, look, you might not have heard this, but this is ridiculous. It helps balance you out, at least when you're getting other sources. But when you have, for example, and these are all like conservative media sites or things that I'm popping out, but any of these independent creators that have millions or 1 or 2 million subscribers that are creating news content that are covering all this and have regular news shows, what are they doing, bro? Like, do you have to be Fox News or CNN? Like, Fox News or CNN is a shell, is this brand around attention. If people aren't watching them, then you're not getting your information, then they're worthless, which is why they're doing such clickbait, because they're begging for attention.
Yeah.
They just have the infrastructure from the old way of doing tech. They have the infrastructure because they're in with the government. They're in with the press. They have like all the badges. They have the people that are established journalists, but it's gotten blended over with the smut, and they fucked up by trying to go for clickbait and not being authentic and doing news. And you can't go back. Like they lost the trust officially. Like it's gone.
Yeah.
You might keep a few people that are delusional, but those are the older people that they're going to die soon. Like those are the older people that still watch CNN on repeat. Like my grandparents just watch the fucking news, like cycle through, get the fuck out of here. It was awful. I don't care. It's irrelevant whether they're watching Fox or CNN. It's the fact that they had the news on all the time.
Yeah.
You watch all those anchors, like you're just listening to just biased fucking, you're not getting news. You're just getting, you're getting a story.
Yeah.
Breaking news story. Breaking story. How are you going to spin it? What's the title? So you get a lot of independent people that are giving their opinion. So you start following, right? Like Red, White, and Swole. That's a Fox News, CNN. What's the difference? I have my opinion. Here's a story that I read from somewhere else. I'm not in the field. I'll read something from Daily Mail or from CNN or Fox News or Bloomberg or something. I'm like, oh, check out this. This is ridiculous. Or here are my thoughts on it. What are your thoughts? Drop a comment down below. Here's a video that's going, a viral video. It's just content with trending shit. Like I can't cover everything. No one can.
Right.
But it's like you have different voices and different people that you trust. And that's all it is. These organizations were big trustworthy, but it's a brand. You have a personal brand. Do you have trust? If people like you, they trust you. If they trust you, they'll buy from you. I mean, this is like business 101.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to know what you're about, know what your intent is. And that's why as much as people got, right, as much as, let's say at this time of recording at the moment, that video, 159 thumbs up, 226 thumbs down. Okay, it's got 150. It's almost 50-50. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, you look at that. I'm like, God, 226 thumbs down. What about the 159 thumbs up that liked it?
Right.
Notice how all the people that liked it, who's flinging shit in the comments? Not the 159 that liked it.
Right.
It's all the fucking people that are like, multiple comments, repeating, fighting. Those aren't people that fucking love the video. They liked it, they watched it, they laughed, and they moved on with their day.
Yeah.
Right. These are the people that are in the country that are quiet right now. These are the ones that are not rioting in the streets. These are the ones that are not virtue signaling. They're fucking living their life. They're focusing on their family. They're creating content. They're doing procasts and shit. Like they're doing their shit. And then they watch a video. They don't think anything of it. They go on with their life. People that are looking for a fight, what do you think they're going to get attracted to? They're getting attracted to everything negative, any kind of friction, every type of confrontation. They're looking for it. Because they're frustrated and they don't have purpose and they have a big ego and they think they matter, or they want to matter and they don't matter, and they've realized that they don't matter, and they realize that they don't have any kind of future and they have no real skills and they got fucked over. I mean, there's actual angst there. They're not eating properly. They're not exercising. They're not doing shit right.
Right.
Why would they think clearly? Why? The education system in this country fucking sucks. Like the education system fucks. The food sucks. Right? People have been locked inside. They're not getting sunlight or exercise. You think people, oh, COVID, oh, pandemic, let me get my fitness on. Let me actually get healthy. Said no one. People just got fatter and lazier.
Right.
Right? It's the opposite. So, people have to funnel that kind of aggression and that kind of like angst into something. And that's where it's happening. It's coming out online. It's like it's early internet. People are just trolling behind a keyboard, but they're not in their basements. They're at work and they're in the car in traffic tweeting. What's people's reaction? There's someone is at a red light. They just lost their job, or they just got into a fight with their wife and they're fucking they're overweight, they feel like shit, they have a headache, and they're stressed out, their mortgage payment's like 2 months overdue, and they see the video and they're fucking like, "Argh."
Right.
Right? And then you respond or like this, and then they fucking fight back. Obviously, you left a decent comment. You were kind of poking because it's ridiculous, and you know me, but they imagine it's not that you have to feel bad for them. I mean, like, obviously, but that's like the outcome of someone who does not have their shit together.
Right.
That is like some of those responses, like it's to the point now, I'm sure you probably saw the most recent ones. Like you can't respond to that, bro. Like there's nothing you can say. I mean, there's a lot you can say, but there's nothing that will actually win. Like there's there's nothing there, bro.
Right.
Like there is just, I saw that, I'm laughing like, what the fuck?
You're at that point, you're just not even talking anymore, like about anything. You're just
but you see,
it'd be worse. And I hope this offends somebody. Matter of fact, I hope your team clips this and posts it as a response into there. I would hate to be in actual relationship with any of those. Like imagine being like that person's significant other and having an argument with that person. It's like, Jesus, you're not even arguing about the topic anymore, you idiot. Like what? Like, do you
think that person's gotten laid in the last year, bro?
If they did it,
honestly, do you think anyone that talks like that has gotten some good deeds?
You could have helped being the token. The token what of
I shouldn't talk like that.
Years of working 18 hours a day with somebody. But I'm just a token. You're right,
bro. I shouldn't talk like that because that's just comes out. That's my white privilege and the patriarchy. That's just my male privilege.
Jesus,
I can't help it.
I'm a
fucking man.
Yeah.
I'm just fucking raging now. But like, no, these are people that literally have mental concerns because they're living in the comments and they are just the outlandish nature of the responses.
Right.
So, I mean, it is what it is, but yeah, I mean, going back, this was a long-winded kind of like rant and just kind of hilarity. I mean, people watching this, Swole fan mostly, they'll know what we're talking about, but it's really, at first it was like literally at first when I saw it, I'm like, oh shit, did I say something I shouldn't have? Like, I mean, I don't know. I say a lot, dude, I'm talking nonstop. I forget half the time, like shit that I say. I could have really said something like, oh, it was a clip. I didn't pull the clip, right? I didn't pull the clip. I didn't do the thumb. I didn't do the title. So I'm like, oh shit. So I looked and I'm like, and I laughed again. I'm like, who the fuck's getting offended by that? It's just like, it's a very lukewarm video about someone else's stupid mistakes, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, and then now when I see the negatives, I'm like, oh, bring it on. Fucking come on. What are you going to, it's just, it is what it is, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's not going to stop me. That's not going to change how I feel. Like if there's something that was actually wrong, I would rectify it, but it's just like,
right.
What you can do? Can't cancel Papa. How? You delete that channel? Cool. I got like 4 more. All of them? That would suck. I'll go on the other platform.
Right.
Forums. Like I don't like what all the ad revenue that I'm getting on the Daily Swole channel. All those like what $5 a day or some shit.
Right.
It's ridiculous. God, if I showed you the analytics, you'd laugh. Just from a marketing standpoint, you'd be like, this does not make any sense. You would laugh so hard.
Yeah.
So hard. Any last words for the people responding to your post? Any?
No, because
this is a clip.
I would actually
clip this. Don't.
Yeah.
If you edit this, if you take out this clip, take out the part about the white male supremacy. Like, yeah, it's not going to play well. Apparently, people are really too.
Right.
Now leave it in. I'm kidding. Leave it all.
Just like for me, it's like, where does it end, right? Because we've talked about this. It's like The Office. It's like Dave Chappelle's. It's the Kevin Hart's. It's anybody who has ever said anything in general of any type of either comedic base or like whatever. It's like we have, bro. There's so many. Like you can't. Like we're just gonna run through a timeline. Like it's just so like I'm literally I'm on the edge of saying so many unpolitically sound words like that. I'm just like it's on a level of idiocy that I've just never like I don't want to be associated with it. I don't even want to look at it. I'm just like and I'm talking like that side of the internet as a whole, or like that side of humanity as a whole. Like, I'm annoyed that my children have to grow up in that shit. I'm annoyed that I have to deal with it on any level. It's the only reason that I have always found my way back to doing my own thing in entrepreneurship, building my own shit. Cause I'm just like, you can't if you can't survive in that, nobody can survive. They can't even survive in their own shit. Like, that's what I'm saying is like, y'all are creating infrastructures you can't even survive in yourself. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just like, what is it? What are you really trying to accomplish? Like, even being right, like, what is that going to do for you? Like, and that's what I'm saying is when you can't put your finger on somebody's why, they're just talking. Like, that's all they're doing. You have no why behind that. Like, the amount of people like, oh, I'm biracial. Oh, congratulations. Right. And this is what a lot of people do. It's like, they want to, like, everything they say makes sense. Every point that they have has a correlation. Every point that they want to make has validity behind it. But you can't make peace with people who are hell-bent on misunderstanding you. So it's like, if their intention is to misunderstand a situation or have, essentially put a cold shoulder or blinders onto, so this is my belief system in this. The reason why I am a great marketer, the reason why I'm a great advertiser, the reason why I'm a great businessman in person or in general, or a business person in general, is because I spend more time figuring out the opposite side than even my own stance on something, which is why I can understand an audience, which is why I can understand a business's needs, which is why I can understand where something is going, is because I spend more time understanding the other side. It's like the number one thing they teach you in like debate. It's like, if you can understand your opponent's stance better than they can, you can run circles around them. Like, and half of these idiots who are keyboard warriors don't even understand their own point enough to validate it with anything, right? And if they do, I guarantee, I wish you could have a hacker screen record their computer as they're commenting. They're Googling shit. They're looking stuff up because they want a clever stance. It's the battle of the wittiest, the battle of the most clever. It's not even the battle of what's right anymore.
They're probably taking a shit, man. They're probably on the toilet.
That legitimately, that's what I'm saying. They're going to drop a comment like that. Nicole's boyfriend is going to play Call of Duty for 6 hours. They're going to and this isn't casting judgment on any individual person. I'm depersonifying all of internet warriors, if you will, or keyboard warriors. They all do the same. Like, we're all living in the same bullshit. So to add on top of that we're just going to attack all of each other for, and now granted, if it's one thing like, hey, video came out of, Papa Swolio after 4 years of camaraderie and brotherhood decided to lynch KD, while playing his music. Okay. Then we can have a conversation in the comments about how
an animated cutout, like, oh my God, I like this song.
And I'm just like, you guys are like, what does being biracial have to do with it? You want to know what it has to do with? How about every single person that I grew up? How about the area I grew up? How about the people I've been in a relationship with since I was a baby? How about the people who have affected my life positively and negatively? How about the people that are actually in my family? How about the people that are in the part of my family that I'm not connected to? How about the stuff that I want to change for my entire life, for the generations that come after me, for my kids, for their kids? Like, how about all of the things that are indirectly connected to my stance and my perspective on something that you have zero context around, let alone the fact that I have spent countless hours with you since 2016. You have slept in the room next to, like, across the hall from, like, where my children sleep, from where my wife, like I can't get closer to you as a friend or a brother. So to have anybody take a stance that, like, and again, and this is my thing, I have respect for opposition when it is well researched, when it was well put, when it has, like, context, add a little humor in there, add a little bit of empathy in there, whatever, take a strong stance. Like, I actually get almost enthralled by that. I'm like, yeah, let's have this, high intellectual conversation. Like, let's really talk about this.
Respect.
If the premise is we're going to resolve on something that's beneficial to both of us, I will argue or debate till we're blue in the face so we can find common ground, because I feel like that's our responsibility, let alone if we have free speech or whatever, our social responsibility to have hard discussions that lead to overall results. But if the goal is to be right for 14 seconds so you can get your 9 likes on a comment and feel good about yourself on a Monday, and then go around Tuesday through Friday and do jack shit for anything that's beneficial to you, and you still have to live with your own bullshit, like if that's legitimately your premise is no premise, like I have no desire to interact with you, because you are literally a dead weight to yourself and a dead weight to humanity. And you may not be the direct correlation or source where these issues are coming from, but you're the reason they stay around. So I think, and then this is 99.9% of humanity. So I think, again, going back to almost every conversation we had, none of these people are free thinkers. None of these people, and I'm saying none of these people, I mean people who are directly attacking behind keyboards and not a part of a solution. If you were to actually audit their life, there's no indicator towards they're waking up every day and making sure they're an active part of doing things that change the way that thing is, right? So I want to go ahead and, Nicole, give me your programming for how you are helping this situation, aside from comment worrying and
it's the new Karen, bro.
Yeah, Nicole's a new Karen, and I'm picking one name. I mean, I have no context who this girl is. Probably a wonderful person with great moral values, and
I don't think so.
Yeah,
I don't think so.
So I'm just like, that's where I'm just like, what's fun about it too? Natural selection.
Yeah.
Let's see your net score in 10 years.
I think you're gonna.
And when I mean net score, I mean, and this is the funny thing. Most people, when they say stuff like that, they mean it in a prideful way. Look where I'll be in 10 years versus where you. No, I'm talking, look where you will be in correlation with the things that you want beneficially for your life and your family. Let's see how far that gets you in 5 or 10 years. For real. Like, let's see how far forward you move your family with those types of perspectives, yourself, your own goals, your own aspirations, let alone those who are around you, when that's your tactic. It's like, it's legitimately like going to war and then trying to have a discussion with the general as they're firing arrows towards you. It's like, like the lack of logic. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, oh my gosh. I legitimately, like, when I made that comment, I was like, let me do a little humor deflection and even throw myself in there by calling myself a raisin. And maybe that will be the whole, like, Eminem going on stage in 8 Mile and like talking shit about himself, so his opponent doesn't have anything, because, I actually care about good content reaching good people and, all that kind of stuff. And I'm just like, people will find an issue with anything. So
you're not talking to people that are thinking coherently. All you're doing is you're seeing just complete bullshit rhetoric. There's nothing there.
Right.
There's nothing there to begin with. There's nothing in the actual video. There's nothing really in it but just someone else's faux pas and me laughing about it and people getting offended by me finding something else humorous between two just terrible, like just awful examples of YouTube or commentary. Just like, I mean, I don't like either channel. I don't even care. That's why I covered it, because it was like this ridiculous smut. Even saying that at the beginning.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, it's interesting how people think that again, it's virtue signaling, because when you're posting online, you are showing everyone else, you're getting likes, you're showing everyone else how forward thinking, you're jumping on the bandwagon. It's the cancel culture. It's the pile on. That's what it is online. You see some people that are hating on something, you jump on. It's very easy. It's very easy to kick someone when they're down, or how it's perceived. It's very easy to jump in with hate if you don't like something, if a lot of people are, which is why once it rains, it pours. You see a bunch of people coming in, and they come in, and then they come in, and then they come in. And then, again, that's why you see almost a 50-50 split, but the comments are just overwhelmingly like, I don't like it.
Right.
Well, of course, because people want that outlet. People want to be outraged. This is outrage culture. It's cancel culture. People want to be offended. They are looking for it. They want it because people don't have purpose. They're substituting passion for purpose. Okay. They don't have a real goal. They don't have real aspirations. They're not, like you said, they're not building anything. Where are they going to be in 10 years? Nowhere, because they're being loud. They're misconstruing passion and this for substance. It's not there. There's nothing there. Like underneath it, it's just it's like when you see like clouds and thunderstorms, but no rain. It's like, oh, okay. It was just all, all talk, no walk. And that's all it is. It's just empty rhetoric that you're spitting out because of the movements and the social climate. Well, guess what? Climate changes, as we know, right? Climate change, like the current climate. Okay, well, that's going to change too. It's because you've been locked up for 5 months. No one wanted to be in just surprise prison. Like, hey, you're not going to be going outside for like 5 months. Like,
all right.
You're not going to have money. You're not going to work. People are just frustrated. And the only thing that they do have is this kind of perceived social get out of jail free card to be a cunt.
Right.
Like, and to irrationally use serious allegations and serious issues that people have historically actually dealt with, mostly in history, which is why it's, slavery and apartheid and all these things that were history that, yeah, there are remnants of it. Okay. There's always remnants. It's called history. It's called, like, the fucking Colosseum still exists.
Right.
It's still there. Yeah. They used to slaughter thousands of animals and people, by the way, of all, like, fucking slaughtered, just murdered, just blatant murder. Ooh, isn't this beautiful? We're going to go visit the Colosseum. Do you know what happened there?
Right.
It's like this weird, like, slaves fought and were killed by animals and eaten and like, yeah.
No, it doesn't matter.
No one wants to talk about that. Genghis Khan killed like 1 million fucking people and like fucked 1 million, like, raped and pillaged. Hey, not. Chances are we're related to him. Like, no one.
Great series on Netflix though.
Just right. No one. Yeah, no one talks about it. Like, no one. It's because it's too far in history, or we can't create a narrative based on that. That doesn't fit this current situation. We don't have Mongols that are being oppressed right now. Right? Or conceivably. It's just, again, it's these movements that have hijacked the social narrative, and it fits, again, I think it's just the perfect storm. It's a perfect storm with frustration, with the presidency, with this kind of like technology, with the Marxist movement that's been brewing for like 20 years in education and universities. It's just a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff, and it's a huge like psychological, ball of fuckery, but you're seeing it in the comments. And there's always been comments like this since the beginning of the internet. It's just you have more than ever the ability to respond to shit. You have the ability, and now you have the green light to be outraged by anything. And for that to be acceptable, it used to be a troll, right? Wouldn't you call this trolling? Technically? Yeah. Wouldn't you call it trolling? Like, you're just looking for something, right? You're getting pissed off at something that, people have the right to be offended. That's the difference. People are confusing their right to be offended with, should I be offended? Is this a smart move for me as a person to be offended? Is this something that's helpful? Is this something that makes me more resilient as a person? Is that a good character trait to be offended easily? Fuck no. Absolutely the fuck not. That's the opposite of resilience. That's the opposite of being anti-fragile. That's the opposite of all these important things for a human being. You need to have a thick skin. Why? Because life is going to fucking chew you up and spit you out. Yeah. And that's the problem, is that everyone's being raised in this fucking bubble. And that's why all these bubbles are popping and people are, they don't have the tools fundamentally. And this is something that can't be corrected at this time. This is something that it's ingrained when you are your kids, bro, when you're 5, when you're 6, when you're raising them, giving them autonomy, giving them giving them the tools. Yeah. You need to teach people young, because they're going to grow up and that's going to cement, and they're going to be lost in a world like, oh my God, the mean man, or I'm afraid to go outside by myself. I'm afraid to do this. I'm afraid to do that. Oh, don't hurt me. Don't be mean to me, man. And what do? You don't have any fucking identity. So you latch onto something else. You latch onto a movement. You latch onto a slogan. You latch onto, I wonder why they had the Hitler Youth. I wonder why they start them young. Yeah. I wonder why. 1984, Orwell. I wonder why. I wonder why they start real young. Why do you think? Why do you think the Spartans started training their kids when they're like fucking 3 or 5?
Yeah.
Why do you think? Why do you think someone who's like, hey, he loves to play golf. Tiger Woods playing golf since he was 3. Oh, I wonder why. Well, Venus and Serena Williams, I think they started when they were 20. They were playing since they were fucking like in the womb, probably.
Yeah.
Probably shoved the fucking racket up there. Right?
Yeah.
Because you train them young. Why do you think why do you think they go in the countryside in China and they go by height and weight and they bring girls in for powerlifting and for ping pong and they only have them play ping pong so they could be in the Olympics and shit like that because they fit the metrics to be a fucking ping pong. And they just like machines.
Yeah.
Humans are just biological machines. That's all it is. We're making fucking technology more biological. We're using bacteria and nanotechnology and all this shit. It's the same thing, right? That's why it was one of the most brilliant things that I've ever heard was just when Elon Musk was talking about this makes you, a cyborg.
Yeah.
And it's like, Jesus Christ, he's absolutely correct.
Yeah.
You're just not directly linked, but you're using it. It's just a slower process. Oh, I have to boom, 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 boom. But like, what's the difference between me typing into this and having the information or me thinking about it and being incorrect? This has given my brain superpowers. Neuralink is going to, chip right in, just help you get there faster. It's going to be like Wi-Fi for your brain.
Right.
I'm just like what's the, I even forget. I was on a rant. I was on a roll. I forgot. I went off on that. I forget what I was saying, but people just don't have the tools. They weren't raised with the tools. They weren't raised with the resilience. They weren't raised with that kind of structure. I mean, if you like, for example, when I was younger, I was the only child for the first few years. But when I was growing up, I used to go out in the woods with my friends and just go and just fucking walk, get lost. You find your way back. You're on your own. Like if you fall and hurt yourself, like you're walking back and you need to get help. Like there's been situations like that. But guess what? You learned.
Yeah.
And you learn your lesson, right? You touch a hot stove and you fucking learn your lesson. You have your ability to make mistakes, to fall and to get hurt. That's good. That's good. Bullying, as much as it's horrible, like you don't want anyone to die, but why is that a bad thing? Teach kids how to fight. Teach them all jujitsu. I mean, Joe Rogan talks about that on his podcast all the time. All kids should learn jujitsu because kids wouldn't fuck with each other if everyone knew how to defend themselves.
Yeah.
Plus it would teach them discipline. It would get their energy out and it would teach them a good skill. You could defend yourself and your family shouldn't attack or come around.
Yep.
That's why people are getting their ass kicked so often because martial arts is so popular now. You don't know who the fuck is a black belt anymore.
Right.
Like you don't fuck with people. And if you don't know anything about martial arts, you could be a fucking like yellow belt and just fuck someone's world up. You just know a couple moves or one move. If they don't know anything, they're toast. Yeah. So it's like, we don't teach people the skills that they need. We avoid kids like, don't fight, don't wrestle, don't this. Hey, get down from there. We put shoes on them. We bind their feet. We don't feed them properly. We sit them down in a desk and we teach them how to count and we teach them how to fucking do math and they don't get to climb a tree. They don't use their muscles and they just, like we're raising soft fucking kids, man.
Yeah.
We're raising kids that don't know how to, they don't know how to be self-sufficient. And guess what they're going to be? They're going to grow up to be adults that are not self-sufficient. They're going to be adults that don't know who they are. They're going to be adults that don't have autonomy. They're going to be adults that don't feel confident with themselves as a person. So what do? What happens when you're scared, bro? What happens? What does fear turn into?
It turns into irrational behavior.
Anger, right?
Yep.
People compensate fear with anger and fury. When people are scared, they get angry. It's a compensation. The reason why people in the military have great senses and dark sense of humor, because when you're in the fucking, and you need to laugh, you need to cope with situations. Why some people, when something really horrible happens, like they kind of laugh or they just like laugh at how ridiculous it is because it's a coping for you to deal with it. That's not a negative. That's a positive.
Right.
That's why I like this. That's why I laughed because like it's ridiculous. One could be like, "Oh my god, that's so mean. How could you say that to her?" I'm not outraged. I laughed it off. It's not about me. It didn't hurt anyone like physically. No one died. Like you said, two obese women were like fucking arguing online and like they've been trolling each other for months.
Yeah.
Nonstop. So it's like as if this is just like out of the blue. This person was just angry at her. It's just more of the same, which is why I was funny and just, again, comes back full circle. So, dude, there's like, I can tell you're over there. Like, I know we're done, but you were like, you're seething. You're fucking like, yeah. I mean, you're passionate about it. I mean, I believe it. That's why we're fucking That's why we're bros, man. But I mean,
I think it's
stupid shit, man. It's stupid shit.
Irrelevant people saying irrelevant things for irrelevant purposes.
I just happened to see like a comment below. God, I don't even want to. I almost want to read it. No, I can't even. It's just so stupid. It's so stupid. I can't believe people write this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. You know what's funny? It's like when people are in the comments like, do you laugh about this too? Do you laugh about those things? I'm looking in the comments. I'm like, yeah, actually I would. Like I want to respond like I would laugh in the right context to any of those things.
Right.
Absolutely. I'm seeing like a list of this. Like, how is this funny to you? Because it's fucking hilarious. You know what's even funnier? The comments, bro. I might even read these as Eli, bro. You think that would be? Eli responds.
That'd be one way to get a character canceled, those for sure.
Well, let's get back into these comments. There's some fuckery afoot.
That's the name of the show.
All right. Now, who's the first one? King Darius. Who's this, jabroni? Appreciate the comment, son. Can I call you son? You don't look like me, but you're my son. Oh my God. Mama Heli must have been a little bit, I must have strayed. Oh God. I already do, like, it already just goes off. Like, there's no way that one ends well. In my dreams. Yeah, bro. Fucking Firecast. You're getting real close. I can't even see you anymore. You're like off. There you go. There you go in. I can't even, if I go too much on that, that look really bad.
We ride around this ghost. If we show up, then we still have it. Yeah, we slide around this coast. Yeah, we glowing up, but we still trapped, sitting high up on the stone. When my foes out, got the world clapping. Yeah, we vibing up in this show. So your main girl in the private section. Yeah, we ride around this ghost. If we show up, then we still have it. Yeah, we slide around this coast. Yeah, we glowing up, but we still trapped, sitting high up on the stone. But my foes out, got the world clapping. Yeah, we vibing up in this show. So your main girl in the private section. Yeah.